Hello and welcome to the season finale of Freaky Fettuccine. On tonight's episode, sure, we've seen some really bad creepypasta, but what about one that was engineered to be the worst creepypasta ever made? I won't be taking you through the whole thing because that's going to be 4 hours of nonsense, but I will give a brief sample of Happy Appy. The following are the entries of a blog that was constantly updated. The blog seems to talk about a show called Happy Appy. February 23rd, 2011. Hello. I will be writing on this blog because I am researching a show called Happy Appy. One of the main reasons why I'm researching the show is because I've been fascinated with missing TV shows, episodes, and movies. Like most people who research missing episodes, I'm hell-bent on finding London After Midnight, the 108 missing Doctor Who episodes, and Him, the 1974 film where a man has a sexual obsession with Jesus. Even though I should help the search for any fragment of the missing episodes and films, I'm going to research this one series for now. Another reason I want to research this show is because I had an experience with it around 2001. It was around 8 in the morning. My younger brother, who was 7, was watching a local station during its child TV show block. After a dubbed-over Blue's Clues, it started to air a show called I Don't Speak Russian. Whoops, immersion over. Or Happy Apple. I can barely remember the episode's plot, but it was about this apple who was trying to help a kid named Nathaniel. It felt sort of low budget, but since my brother liked the episode, I didn't mind him watching it. The only thing that made me dubious was this evil smile that the apple did in the middle of the episode. From what I gathered in the first few weeks of Noggin's existence, this Happy Appy show began production. Its plot was about a giant clay apple with arms, baby blue eyes, and large dark green lips being held up by a bent, rusty stick. He would go around in a white 1996 Ford Windstar helping children when they got injured. As the show kept going, the episodes started to become more unusual. For one example, Happy Appy would often stare at the viewers of the show with a deranged smile. It's also worth mentioning that the series slowly got more violent as the series progressed. Happy Appy was one of the shorter shows on Noggin, with every episode being 10 minutes long at the most. They played in duets, making each full episode 20 minutes long, minus commercials. A couple of months after Happy Appy aired its first episode, Nickelodeon canceled the show and it was never shown again on Noggin or Nick Jr. Even the much more appropriate episodes weren't shown for whatever reason. However, some parents did record the show, but they were VHS copies. Of those said VHS copies, only a few survived through the years. Many of the tapes had been destroyed, either due to neglect or disgust, or were simply misplaced and thrown out by accident. However, some copies of the show were reportedly stolen by a shadowy figure. I was one of the lucky people to own a copy of the episodes. Yesterday, when I did some winter cleaning, I found an old DVD with HA episodes written on it. I had a feeling that I knew this abbreviation from somewhere. I did some research on what the HA meant. My first choice was a forum about missing episodes or films that I normally go to. When I entered the missing episodes section of the forum, the first thread I saw was one named HA? What's this? A woman posted the thread who had, like me, found a VHS with the initials HA on it. As I read the thread more, I found out that the initials on the disc stood for Happy Appy. This instantly reminded me of the weird, low-budget show that I watched with my brother in 2000. In the replies, the users claimed that there are no known DVD copies around. I'm not sure how the disc got there, though. I certainly don't remember owning a disc that looked like it. After viewing the thread, I went ahead and put it into the disk drive, hoping that it would work. Thankfully, the disc did work, and it instantly cut to the intros of the episode. No menus or anything. Happy Appy's intro song had the same tune as Mary Had a Little Lamb, and went something like this. Happy Appy, Appy App, Happy App, Happy App, Happy Appy, Appy App, he helps kids all day. Happy Appy, Appy App, Happy App, Happy App, Happy Appy App, he helps kids all day. Happy Appy, Appy App, Happy App, Happy App, Happy Appy, Appy App, he helps kids all day. Episode 1 and 2 were called Happy's Vacation and Hurt Happy, respectively. Happy's Vacation was exactly what you'd expect. Happy Appy goes on a vacation to the beach, heals injured kids, and even talks down a bully into not hurting a child. Hurt Happy was about Happy's stick getting broken, and the kids teaming up to help Happy Appy by giving him bandages and fruit. Nothing seemed out of place when I first saw it, but when I saw it a second time, the episodes looked questionably odd. When Happy was driving his van to the beach in Happy's Vacation, a few seconds skipped. At first I ignored it, saying it could be a scratched DVD. But when I checked the disc, it had no scratches on it whatsoever. Also, during the fruit scene in Hurt Happy, the kids gave him an apple for whatever reason. It could have been a mistake by the producers, though. Finally, I noticed some things in Hurt Happy that looked out of place. In Happy's van during the intro of Happy's Vacation, there was what looked like the border of the Hope poster, but it was so out of frame that it could have been something else. At the end of Hurt Happy, there was a news broadcast about a 9.0 earthquake that recently struck Japan. Happy responded, "Oh no! If you want to help the Japanese, call this number!" And a 1-800 number appeared. I thought those were just coincidental. Well, I was wrong. Episodes 3 and 4 were stranger. The intros of these two episodes were removed, but I found out that episode 4's name was Nate Needs Help. This struck out to me, because this was the very same episode I saw with my brother, but in English. Episodes 3 and 4 were missing a few scenes, and overall, more disturbing than the first two. On episode 3, near the 5:10 mark, is when Happy Appy does his first evil smile for 25 seconds. A scene that could send chills down anyone's spine was the boo-boo part in Nate Needs Help. Happy aids Nate, who has a bruise on his knee. He looks to the camera, giving off the same evil smile that I remember from 2000, and says, "What does Nate need for this boo-boo?" For 30 seconds, he stared at the camera, motionless, with his soulless baby blue eyes locking on to anyone watching. Finally, he broke the silence by saying, "That's right, a bandage!" Why did he need that long to speak, I will never know. Also, the out-of-place objects were getting more noticeable. In Nate Needs Help, the radio plays what sounds like a country cover of Hot and Cold, which was made in 2008 and very out of place for a kids' show. February 24th, 2011. I watched episode 5, which had a few differences from the first 4 episodes. Firstly, it had Happy on a rustless, but still bent, stick. Secondly, this episode was somewhat disturbing. The theme song played, and the name of the episode is revealed as Monkey Bar Mishap. It started with Happy Appy in his van, driving to the playground, when he sees a kid crying near some monkey bars. Once he parks the van and goes to the monkey bars, Happy finds out that the kid has fallen off of them, cutting his little finger open. Happy Appy said, "What does Jake need to heal with, kids?" He gave off his evil smile at the screen for a couple of minutes, enough time to read a page of a book, preferably the Bible, to him. Like Nate Needs Help, his soulless baby blue eyes watched over anyone in the room like Big Brother. He said, "That's right!" and Happy puts a bandage on Jake's finger. After getting hugged by Jake, Happy drives away in his van. It skipped to episode 6, which had a better chance of being aired on Wonder Chosen than Nick Jr. The episode, called Never Run with Knives, was a kid running with a knife facing up. The knife was clearly a rubber prop because the blade was flopping around a lot. The kid got cut and held his hand over the wound, crying. As blood began to come out of the kid's wound, Happy parked his van, gave a normal smile, and said, "Hey kids, he shouldn't have carried the knife facing up while running." However, he did heal him by putting a bandage over the wound. The kid hugged Happy, and he said, "Remember kids, never run with knives facing up, or scissors for that matter. Always walk with knives and scissors facing down." Happy took the kid to his van, drives off, and the credits played. However, after the credits roll, the episode takes a very disturbing turn when Happy comes back in his van, the kid missing, and says, "Hey kids, if you find me in my van, just talk to me and I'll take you away." Episode 7 began with Happy on the playground, but he wasn't playing with the kids or helping them. He was just staring at them, with that unsettling smile I hate so much. A group of kids are playing with jump ropes when Happy walks over to them. he calmly tells them something, but I could barely hear what he said. From what I heard, I could only make out, "Hello, Happy. Me, please." I could see where this was going, as the kids walk with Happy into the bushes of the playground. Loud, violent screams are heard for almost a minute and a half, until Happy begins to drag 3 bloody bodies to his van. For the rest of the episode, he does that damn death smile. Why did they use that so much? It was almost like he could climb out of your TV, grab you, and murder you slowly and painfully with a rusty knife, but he couldn't. I moved on to episode 8 and 9. This time, the episodes were so violent and shoddy that they couldn't have aired on Noggin at all. Episode 8 had Happy Appy take a kid into his van. For half of the episode, flesh cutting could be heard, and so could loud screaming, which turned to gurgles. As the scene progressed, blood splatters on the windows began to appear. Eventually, Happy emerged from the van and did a death smile until the end of the show. Like episode 8, episode 9 was gory and violent. But this episode was so coincidental and violent that I couldn't believe Noggin would even allow it, unless it was some sort of hijacking. It starts out with Happy Appy walking around the playground when 2 kids ask him what the cycle of life is so that they could complete their homework. He proceeds to tell the kids about the cycle of life in frogs and plants. The kids said, "Thanks, Happy. Can you play with us for a bit?" Happy agrees, and they start playing on the playground. When this happens, smoke starts to creep behind Happy and the children. It gets to a point where they start coughing because of how dense the smoke is, so they turn around to see what was making the smoke. Happy gasps at the sight in front of them. 2 towers were on fire and were burning up. A few people are falling out of windows to escape the fire. There was a lot of screaming, falling debris, and a crashed airplane in one of the towers. Only the tail of the plane was visible, which was nearing the point of collapse. I could hear a faint whining noise at this point, and I think that it was the plane's engine, which is probably still on. 7 seconds later, the tail of the plane finally broke apart, with the largest piece of the tail hitting and killing someone. During this scene, fire trucks could be heard trying to douse out the flames, but it only slows the flames down. The wailing of ambulances could also be heard, taking away the bodies of the people who jumped from the towers. It showed a weird guy on fire falling out of one of the towers, screaming. Happy and the kids are seen again, but this time they stood still in fear. The smoke kept getting thicker and thicker, slowly obscuring the trees and equipment of the playground. The debris from the towers fell around the kids and Happy, and a person ran up to them and told them to run away from the towers before running off. When the older kid worriedly said, "Happy Appy, why are the towers on fire?" It cuts to a higher-up floor that was near where the plane crashed, which revealed a kid that was under a huge pile of concrete, crying for help. Some other kids tried to help him by lifting the piece of concrete off him. He was screaming so loud, it was almost heartbreaking. There were bodies and bodies everywhere, and the pain and fear on the trapped kid's face was so realistic, I cringed. After the shot with the kid trapped under the concrete, the younger kid turns to the side, say, "Happy Appy, why are people running and falling from the towers?" Happy Appy turns to the camera, death smile on his face, and very coldly said 3 words. Those 3 words will haunt me as long as I research this show. "That's natural, children." He took the 2 kids away from the towers, leaving the kids stuck under concrete screaming for help. When the credits rolled, the audio of the scene kept playing, and at the end, before the video cuts out, something collapsed, making a very loud noise that could scare anyone watching. I jumped out of my seat. Was Happy a deathbringer in the form of an apple? Or was he a master predictor? If that episode somehow predicted 9/11, I have to watch episodes 10 and 11 to see if there was anything else predicted. I might not see any predictions, though, and honestly, I hope not. Oh, and if you want to know what happens when someone calls the tsunami aid number, tomorrow, I'm going to go and call it. February 25th, 2011. Hey, I called the 1-800 hotline mentioned on episode 3. It was a pre-recording, which I will transcribe for you. "Hello, my name is Happy Appy. I am every kid's most helpful and favorite apple. If you want to make a donation, press 1. If you want to know about the earthquake, press 2. When I pressed 2, the hotline said this. "An earthquake and tsunami has recently hit Japan, and we need all the help we can get. If you can make a donation of $1, $2, $5, $10, $20, $50, or $100, you will be a big help. Anyone who donates gets a Happy Appy badge. So I went ahead and donated $1 to the donation for the fun of it by using an outdated bank account that I never used. It responded, "Thank you for helping with the aid for the tsunami. Look in your mailbox a week from now, because you'll get your Happy Appy badge." I'm wondering what earthquake Happy predicted. Between 1999 and the current day, there were no 9.0 earthquakes in Japan. Since the 2003 Hokkaido earthquake was pretty close to when the episode was released, as well as the magnitude mentioned in the radio broadcast, I guess he was predicting about that. February 27th, 2011. Episode 10 was corrupt, to say the least. It started up, but it had no audio, and the first part was so badly compressed that it was hardly viewable. The next part was just plain static for the rest of the video. Great, a missing episode, I thought. Episode 11, called Happy's Trick, was actually watchable. The intro was just some weird, offbeat carnival music, with Happy doing his death smile at the camera. The episode began with him in his van, driving on a winding road. As the episode went on, scars started to appear on his body. Eventually, Happy reached the playground, where many children were at play. He jumped out, looking like he was ready to abduct all of them, and said, "Hey kids, who wants to see Happy do a magic trick?" Like brainwashed zombies, the kids cheered and ran into his van. Happy closes the door and drives away from the playground. After a few minutes, the van came back and the side door opened, revealing a motionless and expressionless Happy covered in blood. I couldn't take it anymore. Happy was making me feel extremely nauseous for some reason, so I skipped to the end of the episode. From what I saw, the rest of the episode was him watching TV and reading the news, with random zoom-ins at the newspaper. Why though? I'm guessing that they're predictions like episode 9, but after that episode, I'm not going to go back and read them. There was a very brief scene where Happy began to stab a kid, but it quickly cuts to Happy watching a scene on his TV, where the inside of a space shuttle catches on fire. Why the hell does the show keep showing scenes very reminiscent of future disasters? Once I had got to the end of the episode, Happy was holding a knife, covered with blood. The camera began to pan down to a table, which had a hand with cut marks laying on it. But what's probably the most unusual thing about this episode happened after the scene. After a few seconds of credits play, it very suddenly cut to a black screen with text that said, "If you get these DVDs, I copied the show over to them from whatever master tapes I could find. I wanted to preserve this show so that the last few episodes weren't lost forever." Now you might be wondering one thing. How did Nickelodeon air all of those episodes? I don't know. They just did, that's what. If you want to know more about the show, including its fate, see me. KC. Thankfully, I had a good grasp on whom the KC most likely was. Kevin Seward Christensen, a friend of mine. It wouldn't be out of the question. When I first met him, he did mention something about working with Nickelodeon until the end of the millennium. Wanting to learn more about the show's fate, I went over to his house. What happened when I got there was, to put it bluntly, odd. When I got to his house and rang the doorbell, nobody responded. The door wasn't locked, so I decided to come in the house and see what was going on. I heard a middle-aged woman crying upstairs, so I ran across the living room and up the stairs to see what was going on. Kevin's wife was in their bedroom, crying at a framed portrait of them together. I asked her what had happened to Kevin, and she replied with a very odd answer. "Last night, someone or something took him away in his sleep. The police are trying to look for him, but they've come up with nothing, as usual. They've questioned me and searched our house for any evidence, but there's none, except for this scrap of paper." She reached into her pocket and pulled out a folded piece of paper. I unfolded it, and it revealed itself to be a low-quality photograph of the scarred Happy Appy during the natural scene. While I was at their house, I asked her how those episodes had managed to get aired on Noggin. "This man had drugged the producers. He was going to..." She only managed to say that much before bursting into tears. I could only think that whoever that man was had kidnapped Kevin on the 26th. After comforting her, I left the Christensen household and walked off. Once I started to get near my house, I was startled by the noise of a gunshot nearby. I instantly ran to my house, fearing that whoever kidnapped Kevin and killed his wife was trying to chase after me. Before I closed the door, I took one last glimpse at the bushes on the other side of the street. In one of them was a mutilated arm, with an unknown figure standing beside it. March 3rd, 2011. Hey, I wanted to know if anyone has any recordings of a Happy Appy episode. If you do, please send me an email containing video of it. You might wonder why I'm asking this. Well, I found my disc in pieces on my desk, and no, I did not save the videos to my laptop. Oddly, the way it was broken was almost like a claw had slashed the disc into thirds. The paper with Happy Appy on it was nearby, with writing that said, "No more evidence now, huh?" I wonder who was angry enough to destroy my disc. March 4th, 2011. The badge finally came in the mail today. It came in a small box that had, interestingly enough, a timestamp from 2000. I could only guess that Nickelodeon still had some left over from when the show was popular. When I opened the box and dumped out the contents, the badge came rolling out, with a letter attached to it. The badge was made of plastic, had a silver bronze color, and depicted Happy Appy with a smile. On the back, Happy Appy Helper badge was imprinted in stereotypical army font. The letter had the following written on it. "To my friend, you have helped us help the Japanese. Of course, let me introduce myself. Unarguably, you have heard of me on Noggin. Can't understand what I'm saying? Well, I'll give you the answer. Happy Appy, Appy App, Appy App, Appy App, Happy Appy, Appy App. He helps kids all day." Now, where do I begin with this gift? Today, I have given you a nice badge, right from the old playground. How did I get these, you ask? Running across the playground, I tripped on a rock. I fell down, but I noticed the ground was uneven. Undoubtedly, something was buried, so I dug the ground and I found a crate filled with these badges. Now, it's time to be off. Watch Noggin at 8:30 a.m. CST to see my new adventures. Love, Happy Appy. I checked the back for anything interesting. What I found instead were these 2 lines of gibberish. "Misk poops pow stick as one gwe said vjni. Ms pliz kul kwe neref bug sk wufan zabul lo oil lwen jock zjken." I don't even know what they are. March 5th, 2011. Today, I got an email from a man who claimed to be a user on WikiLeaks. He had heard about my research on Happy Appy, so he tried to find any documents related to the show. He did find one, which told employees at Nickelodeon to never air certain TV shows or movies. After browsing through a massive description of Crybaby Lane and other shows, I found this block of text in the middle of the document. One show, originally named Happy Appy, was cancelled due to excessive violence and gore. The show depicted a personified apple named Happy Appy that taught kids how to handle certain injuries, and, on an episode called Hurt Happy, teamwork. On their last and only 8th episode, only an hour had passed when Noggin began to remove all traces of the show. Children who had watched the show's final aired episode allegedly obtained symptoms of nausea and sleep deprivation. A 2003 report says the episode seemed to depict explicit imagery of the September 11th terrorist attacks, even though the episode aired in 1999. I'm getting a lot more dubious about this show. June 1st, 2011. First off, yes, I know that Happy Appy might have predicted that recent earthquake and tsunami, so stop sending me emails about it. To put it short, I'm back. Since my job involves working as a detective in the police department, I had to take a hiatus from this blog so I could get paid. During this period, there were some trials involving the murder of Kevin Christensen. However, they came to an abrupt halt when the arm they found disappeared one day. I bet that Shadow Man stole the arm. Anyway, I was looking up Happy Appy on YouTube today when I found a video that said, "Kevin Christensen interview, audio only." So I watched it. Here's a transcript. "Are you Kevin Christensen?" "Yes." So, are you the one who worked on Happy Appy's clay model? Yes. How did you get the job for Happy Appy? I had just graduated from an art college in late 1998. I heard about Nickelodeon Studios, who were making cartoons. So, I sent a resume, and a few weeks later I got the job and I was happy. Well, until the shit hit the fan. What happened on the day you made the Happy Appy model? Okay, so, basically, we had to design a cute-looking puppet for the show. We started with a rusty stick that was lying around on the floor of the studio, made an apple out of clay, and stuck it on the stick. We added baby blue eyes, as well as pupils, so he would look cuter and less frightening for children, huge green lips, and clay arms. Finally, we added a stem and a leaf. We thought it was perfect for the show. Who voiced Happy Appy? I don't remember his name, but I do remember who he was from. It was a show called Fright House Screamers, where 4 teenagers would spend the night at haunted places. What happened to Fright House Screamers? When they were filming the 4th episode, one of the teenagers was found dead in the place they were doing. Besides, the show sucked ass. Was the voice of Happy the teenager who got killed? I'm pretty sure not. Back to Happy Appy. Why aren't there any surviving copies of Happy Appy? That's a good point. See, Nickelodeon owns the tapes somewhere, but they're not going to release them for a long, long time. There have been bootlegs, of course, but none show the episodes after episode 11, which is weird. How many episodes of Happy Appy were there going to be? 2 full 26-episode seasons. They only showed 8 or 10 of the first season before Happy was cancelled. However, my friend Jim says there's actually 2 seasons, but he was very drunk when he said that. Besides, I don't trust him at all. Do you know any of the other crew who worked on Happy Appy? I only know Jim. June 6, 2011. Dear God. I've had some feverish nightmares of Happy Appy ever since I saw those last episodes. The dreams range from Happy doing his death smile for hours, to him brutally murdering a kid off camera. Not only that, but I've become paranoid of apples. If I see one in my house, I eat it as quick as I can or throw it away. I have seen the mysterious figure more, whether he's sitting on the side of a hill or standing near some trees. It never seems to leave me alone. However, I can at least describe his appearance. First off, he can't be made a shadow because he has some sort of face with a mouth. However, his mouth is locked to one expression, which happens to be Happy's death smile. I'm going to sound weird for this, but I wonder if he's happy. No, he can't be. There's a fine difference between this figure and Happy Appy, a child-sized apple. Oh well, here's more about the stalker's body. He looks like he's slightly taller than me. For reference, I'm about 1.87 meters, and looks about mid-weight for his height. If he keeps appearing, I'm going to have to board up my house. I'm not sure what his problem is, but if he doesn't stop, I'm going to call the cops next time I see him. June 11th, 2011. Great. Just fucking great. How the hell do I put this in short? Right now, I'm at the library, which could very well be the only place in Aberdeen that has a free-to-use computer. It's been 5 full days since I last encountered the figure, and that bastard has some sort of problem because he burnt my house down. Oh, yeah, he burnt the entire thing down for no reason whatsoever. I did manage to save some things from my house, like my laptop and the Happy Appy badge and letter. Even then, I feel like I've released some sort of bullshit curse from watching those episodes of Happy Appy, and the library is my only hope spot. Thanks to that figure, I'm not even going to research more on this show anymore. After I destroy the badge and letter, I'm going to close down this blog. Or, better yet, I should kill that fucker for what he did. I don't give a damn if I break the law and get sent to jail. Whoever the figure is has to pay for what he's done to me. However, I'm not sure if the figure burned down my house. I didn't see his figure near my house, so it could have just been a chimney or electrical fire. So, you know what? Forget what I said about closing down the blog and killing the figure. I'm going to treat the fire like it was natural and keep researching the show. Don't expect me to act nicely in the following months, though. June 28th, 2011. I finally got somewhere to live in. To be more precise, I bought a mobile home in the nearby trailer park a few days ago. Since I'm not the richest man in my neighborhood, this will definitely do for now, until I get enough money to buy a proper house. On Happy Appy, however, One of my friends, Jim Forrester, actually remembered Happy Appy, and is most likely the one mentioned in Kevin's interview. He said there were more episodes I didn't have on the DVD. It turns out that the most violent episodes were actually at the end of the season. The entire first season was supposed to have 25 episodes plus a TV movie. No one mentioned it because Jim and Nickelodeon had the only known high-quality tapes until I found the DVD. It's also worth mentioning that the series slowly got more violent as the series progressed. Jim sent me a disc with fragments of Happy Appy episodes. Here are the contents of the disc. The first clip starts out with a close-up of a school bell ringing. It cuts to Happy Appy standing next to a kid sitting at a desk. The kid is trying to answer a math problem, but gives up and says, "I don't know how to do my homework." Soon, the teacher says, "Class is dismissed." The kid becomes ashamed that he didn't know how to do his homework, but Happy says, "That's all right. I'll sing you the math song and you will understand." After the kid gasps, Happy sings a song about math. It was distorted in both audio and video, but I could thankfully make out the lyrics. "I'm going to show you how to do your homework. 7 plus 4 is 11, and 9 minus 2 is 7. Math's not a chore because 15 minus 11 equals 4. 6 plus 2 is 8, and you're doing great. Now here's the last 3, you're on a spree. 66 minus 39 is 27, and negative 5 plus 16 is 11. 2 minus 1, and now your homework is done." After that, the kid says, "Wow, thanks, Happy Appy." I find it odd that the kids were doing math that was more suitable for older elementary students. The next fragment was one of the violent episodes. Even though the clips looked like they were separate and from different episodes, they actually seemed to be in order. It started with 3 kids saying that their families were gone. They proceeded to cry so loudly that it was almost painful to see. Happy Appy and 2 other kids enter the shot and tried to calm them down. Eventually, they managed to calm down the 3 kids, and all 5 of them leave. However, Happy had this weird, perverted, and greedy expression. He tells the kids to come with him, and they follow him into an abandoned office building. 2 minutes later, he leaves the building, dragging several money bags with him. The kids were screaming for help again. It didn't end there. There was one fragment of a somewhat violent episode. Happy was putting a bandage on a kid's arm. Oddly enough, he was wearing a long coat in this episode, and in the far corner of his pocket, a needle with green fluids is visible. Happy gave the kid a shot with the needle, which knocked the kid out. He dragged the kid into his van, and a chainsaw was heard. The DVD stopped after that. Oh, you want to know more about that encounter with the figure? First, it turns out he was at the library, so I got out of there. However, about Kleiner, though. What I thought was Harold was actually someone else that looked like him. Secondly, I gave him a nickname. It's Forensic, which is better than calling him The Figure. I didn't come up with the name, though. I found a scrap of paper on my desk that said Forensic. Obviously, since I have to call the figure something, I will call him Forensic from now on. When I saw him 17 days ago, he seemed to have fingers with claws. I don't mean like he had retractable claws in his fingers. His fingers looked like they were very sharp. I also got a good look at how he ran. He seems to be hunchbacked, which means he would be taller when he would be standing up straight. I say about 6'9", although you could speculate that since I don't have a picture of him. Yet. July 14th, 2011. Jim Forrester has called me again with another development. Treston Ye, the man who voiced Happy Appy, and a star on Fright House Screamers, was killed today. His body had 3 long and deep cut marks on his chest, with one of them slashing open his heart. Even though the police marked it as murder by a bladed weapon, I think Forensic killed Treston. It just seems like a weird coincidence that my CD of the Happy Appy episodes was clawed in the same way that Treston Ye has. Jim, however, said in response that they would be very sharp claws, since the markings managed to put a deep cut on one of his ribs. I might need to research Fright House Screamers after I'm done with Happy Appy. It sounds quite interesting. July 15th, 2011. Today, Jim Forrester gave me a DVD with 3 new episodes. According to Jim, the first one is the episode with the green fluids needle, the second being the full version of Happy Goes to School, and the last one might be the second part of the Happy Appy TV movie. I would be able to describe the episodes if it wasn't for the extensive cleaning the disc needs. July 17th, 2011. After all of this time, I cleaned the disc enough to be watchable. The only problem is that it sometimes freezes when a video gets played. Here are the contents. The first episode started out with the scene with the green fluids needle. After Happy kills the kid, he drives to a crashed plane, where the scene with the money bags happened. It cuts to the playground, where Happy was playing with some kids. It went along like normal until his skin peeled off, revealing a rotten apple core. It was like an orange peeler was being used on him. The skin landed on a boy's head, covering his face like a blanket. The weird part about this scene was that the kids had no reaction to Happy's skin being peeled, almost like it never even happened. After a minute of seeing the boy with Happy's skin on his head, the episode ends. The second episode was, as Jim said, the full version of Happy Goes to School. It begins with a math scene and song happens, but in a vastly improved quality. After that, Happy goes into a science class, where a kid is messing around with a Bunsen burner. Eventually, the kid gets his finger burned by accident. Happy informs, "Never play with a Bunsen burner without adult supervision. If you don't, you might get hurt like Eddie here." After a short monologue, Happy puts an ice pack on Eddie's burn, and he thanks Happy. A few seconds after Happy puts the ice pack over the kid's burn, he hears an argument coming from the hallway. It cuts to a bully mocking a young kid, telling him that his art project is the dumbest thing ever. Because of this, the younger kid starts crying. After some more mocking, the bully runs off laughing. Right as he leaves, Happy comes over and tells the kid to never give up at what he likes doing. The kid instantly cheers up and runs into a classroom, presumably to tell a teacher about the bully. Finally, I saw the second part of the Happy Appy movie. It started out with Happy Appy driving his van on the road leading to the playground. It shows a kid playing with rocks on the side of the road. By accident, he throws a large rock on the road, which lands directly in the path of Happy's van. Happy thinks it's an animal and tries to swerve out of the way, but the van goes off the road and crashes into a grassy ditch. For this scene, footage of a real car crash was used for whatever reason. After this scene, the van starts to catch on fire, and some kids, including the one who threw the giant rock, run over to the burning wreckage. The music for this scene isn't the happy-go-lucky music that plays throughout the show, but sound clips of a reversed Revolution 9, with Happy screaming, "Get me out!" After a kid says, "There! His hat! His hat!" it cuts to Happy's bloody stem, which had a mouth with bloody teeth on it. The stem proceeded to scream, which was just one of the screams that Mike Schenk did in American Movie. Another kid says, "His body! His body!" Happy's body was badly burnt and scratched up, with blood coming out from the larger, deeper cuts. His left eyeball was dangling out of the socket, while all of his upper teeth were either chipped or broken. Where Happy's left arm and stump were, there was pure white bone, with blood slowly leaking from the exposed wounds. Happy tried to crawl out of the burning wreck with his right arm, but it was only a minute until he collapsed and died, while screaming to weird sci-fi noises. The next scene just showed the road, lacking any children whatsoever, with the remains of Happy in the van in plain sight. It cuts to a funeral, where kids were crying over Happy's dead body. While one kid said, "Why, Happy? Why?" Another tried to wake up Happy by shaking his corpse. After the funeral scene, it showed Happy's body, with blood on his broken teeth. The shot fades to a scene taking place 10 years later, where a kid was talking to her mother. The mother replied to the girl, but her speech was in reverse. After re-reversing it, the speech turned out to be, "Don't worry, my daughter. Happy Appy is coming to take you away." The father comes in and talks about how bad Happy was, but in a sarcastic tone. After the mother asks why he randomly brought Happy up, the father brings out a knife and stabs the mother in the head. The girl screams, runs to the mother's side, and starts crying. The father's skin peels off, like the scene with Happy in the orange peeler, revealing Happy with his injuries from the car crash. Happy proceeds to kill the girl. The last shot before the credits was Happy Appy smiling over the bodies of the mother and kid, as well as the skin of the father. Instead of the theme song playing over the credits, dark carnival music played, with clips of Revolution 9 and Napoleon XIV's They're Coming to Take Me Away, haha. A narrator said, "His stomach was in two today. There were two, and there is none now. He's there. He's getting next to his sister with all he knows. And finally, he ceased to work in the underworld." Guess what the narrator was talking over? He was talking over Happy Appy, with a bloodied scalpel in one hand and an X-Acto knife in the other. It slowly panned down to the disguise Happy Appy was under, like the magic trick episode, and stopped at the hand of the skin, which had cut marks on it. The episode ended. July 23rd, 2011. It's been almost since I watched part 2 of the Happy Appy movie. It turns out that someone claimed to have the first part, so I asked him to email it to me. It turns out he was right. Here's what happens in the first half. It starts with the carnival theme from the credits of part 1, but with distorted voices. The intro often flashed out to white. After when the original intro would play, it went straight to Happy on a medical bed, dying from an unknown disease, with children at his side. Happy said in a loud voice, "They're coming to take me away!" And it cuts to one of the younger children. He was trying to fake crying over Happy's death, but the single tear that came from the child was in claymation. It played a solemn piano tune while another kid with a high-pitched voice said, "They're coming to take me away!" It showed Happy Appy coughing up blood, and a few seconds later, his bed wheeled itself into a surgery room. What followed was an hour of stop-motion surgery. It was so horrifying, but yet so compelling. How did the episode creator create a decent surgery scene with puppets? After that, Happy comes out in a wheelchair, and the children said, "Are you okay, Happy Appy?" Happy said, "Yes, my friends," and gave them a large hug. After that, it faded to a title that said 3 months later, and started to fade in on the second part of the TV movie. But the video ended as soon as the fade stopped. July 24th, 2011. I got another episode today. One of my blog followers, who has a job in a daycare center in Seattle, mailed me a VHS tape. The tape had a white label that said, written with a blue Sharpie, "Happy Appy is the hospital doctor." He found the tape because a kid brought it with him for whatever reason, and started crying when he saw the contents. The tape began with a few minutes of static, and then played the famous intro, but had new lyrics that didn't match the tune too well. "Happy Appy helps those kids, Happy App, Happy App, Happy Appy, 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 Happy Appy, Appy." It went to a POV shot of Happy Appy running through a hospital for 2.5 minutes, with the choir singing Amazing Grace. Since I knew what Amazing Grace was about, because of choir experience, I was prepared for anything related to death. It cuts to Happy Appy on his metal stick, doing his death smile for a long time. Like the 2 other times, he watched over any living thing near the TV, with his uncanny, soulless baby blue eyes. The death smile made his glare worse, giving an immense feeling of threat to anyone watching. After the Amazing Grace choir ended, ambient noise started playing. It kept growing louder and louder, and it very slowly zoomed in on Happy. Finally, after about 10 minutes of watching clay apples staring you down with loud ambiance, he says, "Hey kids, let's go find some children to help." He runs up to some body bags holding bodies, while a nurse is zipping one up. Happy walks up to the nurse and says, "Hello, Mrs. Nurse. Can I help those people?" The nurse says, "Happy, they're dead. They won't come back." Right before the credits, Happy Appy turns to the camera with another death smile, and says something that could be more disturbing than the natural scene and the staring scenes, and made me cringe. "Remember, kids, you will all die one day, and I won't be there to help you." July 28th, 2011. A week ago, Jim told me that a fire had recently ravaged through the studio that had filmed Happy Appy. It wasn't until the 25th that I visited the ruins of the studio, if I could find anything that could help me investigate Happy Appy. After traveling on the I-5 for 20 or so hours, I had reached the studio. It was completely abandoned, but what was very strange was that no one was there to demolish it. After grabbing a flashlight and turning it on, I proceeded to sneak inside. When I got into what remained of the lobby, I saw 2 rooms that weren't overly burnt or crushed by debris, a sound set and a storage room. The storage room had a lock on it, so I went into the sound set first. It was massive, around the size of half a football field. Despite the sound set being so large, the only things there were some remains of the green screen stages and a burnt studio camera. For some reason, parts of the remaining cloth on the stages had what looked like bloody stains on it. While I was walking through the sound set, I heard male laughter and the movement of a lanky figure near the back. I got the hell out of the sound set and blocked the door with a burnt desk. After that close encounter, I went over to the storage room and broke the rusted lock off of the door. After I had opened the door, the room turned out to be just a vault of props that were used in the show. There was a mostly intact shelf to the right of the room, which held some reels of tape. After stealing them, I found a safe which had been partially melted into the floor. After some force, I managed to rip it off of the floorboards and haul it to the car. After going into the storage room a third time, I heard what sounded like wood burning, so I checked the sound set to see what was going on. The entire back wall had been lit ablaze by some vandal. I quickly checked the storage room for any more artifacts, which it didn't have, and ran out of the building before the entirety of it started to burn up. I seriously wonder who the hell had done this. Is Forensic so dedicated to kill me that he would set an entire TV studio on fire to do so? Was it even him at all? August 1st, 2011. After dealing with some personal things, I got around to breaking the lock of the safe. The contents were one thing, and that was Happy Appy's puppet doing the death smile. Even though I really don't want to own him, I'll keep the puppet in case it helps me find out more about the show's history. The tapes weren't anything special, they were just Happy Appy's earlier episodes in a higher quality than the DVDs. August 2nd, 2011. On closer examination, though, the Happy Appy puppet has a few anomalies. First off, the right hand was quite obviously reattached, which could suggest that someone accidentally ripped Happy's hand while trying to get him to hold something. One of his eyes was a darker blue than the baby blue his eyes normally were, and his leaf was broken off halfway. Finally, there was some writing on the back of the puppet's head, but some of it had been smudged. T of N L-O-E-N owned by... It also turns out that the tapes were, like the Happy Appy puppet, different from what I had thought. For Happy's vacation in Hurt Happy, the scenes with missing frames had those frames back. However, what was more interesting was that the Hope poster that was in Happy's van was missing from those tapes. I guess that these tapes were actually in work print quality and not the finished product. If that's so, it doesn't explain why the tape that held Happy Goes to School had the beginning of The Towers on it. I can only guess that The Towers was originally a normal episode in production, but some asshole edited it and ended up canceling the series. August 4th, 2011. When I was getting the mail at night, I managed to find Forensic looking at me from the garage. This time, however, I finally took a picture of him. Even though it's incredibly blurry, at least I have a photo of what he looks like. The odd thing is that unlike regular times, where Forensic has Happy's death smile on his mask, he had a frown on his mask. I wondered why he wore a frowning mask this time, until I smashed and burned the Happy Appy puppet, because I think it's powering Forensic. I could be wrong though, which is probably true. I kept the tapes though, as they are good enough to keep. August 15th, 2011. I apologize for not updating this blog lately. I really haven't had much to say, but recently I've been crept out. I thought I had destroyed the Happy Appy puppet 3 days ago, but when I went into the kitchen to make a snack, I saw it lying on the counter, without any damage done to it. Also, I've had many nightmares about Happy or Forensic. The most vivid one, based off of The Towers, occurred to me tonight. I saw a completed Freedom Tower being hit, almost ironically, by a large airliner. Onlookers were either running away, crying, or praying to God. I remember that I was one of the onlookers, unable to move an inch. Right next to me was a ripe apple tree, which oddly hadn't been knocked over by debris. On the pavement, there was an apple that had presumably broken off of the tree. I picked it up and almost got to take a bite out of it. However, I noticed that Forensic was watching me from a nearby bush. As I bit the apple, it suddenly grew a mouth and began screaming loudly. Horrified, I threw the apple to the pavement, which injured it more. As soon as the apple hit the ground, Forensic disappeared from the bush. As the scream from the apple grew louder, the fires on the Freedom Tower kept flaming on and on until the thing collapsed, sending a cloud of debris towards onlookers. Right before I was hit, I jumped out of bed, screaming in horror. I don't know why, but it seems like Forensic and Happy are the only things that I can really think about anymore. Thanks to them, I think I'm going insane. First off, I can't see fruits without thinking about Happy Appy in any way. Thankfully, though, I don't think about Happy when I see a vegetable, unless I find an episode involving a vegetable clay puppet. Secondly, I fear tall and skinny, and especially both, people a lot more than I used to. Mainly because of Forensic, and how he's very tall and skinny. And when I see a playground, I imagine Happy Appy in that one dark, plant-filled, abandoned corner of the playground, doing a death smile and looking like he's ready to murder every child. I really regret researching this show. I learned more about Fright House Screamers, but it's not as related to Happy as I thought it would be. August 16th, 2011. Today I went to look for Happy Appy on the TV. Even though it sounds idiotic to look for a show on the channel that it's banned from, it's worth a shot. I woke myself up when Nick Jr. started, and watched the shows for Happy Appy. It all went well, playing Dora the Explorer and Yo Gabba Gabba when a bumper aired. A woman's voice said, "And now, we have something special to show you. Please welcome, for the first time in a decade, Happy Appy!" I was excited, for that I would most likely see a new episode. Unfortunately, it was the school episode again. Even though I was disappointed, I was still elated from seeing an episode of Happy Appy air. At that point, I had a major question. Why did the episode air? Did a new employee mistakenly air the episode without knowing the history of Happy Appy? Or did someone else deliberately air them? If someone did air them deliberately, why did they? Was it Retro Day at Nick Jr., and they allowed a showing of Happy Appy just for once? Or did someone know about my research blog, and to help, they aired an episode? Second post. Hey, I've got 2 things to tell you. First, I will try to make at least 1 post every day, all the way until when I quit researching Happy Appy. Second, I'm keeping track of the episodes. Here are my guesses for the episode list. Anything with parentheses describes the episode better. 1. Happy's Vacation. 2. Hurt Happy. 3. Monkey Bar Mishap. 4. Happy Goes to School, the one with a math song. 5. Nate Needs Help. 6. Never Run with Knives. 7. Happy Fixes Kids. 8. Happy Fixes Kids Part 2? 9. Happy Fixes Kids Part 3. 10. The Towers. 11. Happy the Doctor, the one with the green fluid needle, the crashed plane, and Happy's skin peeling off. 12. 13. Happy's Trick. 14. The Happy Appy Movie, Parts 1 and 2. I know there are only 15 episodes mentioned here, but I haven't discovered the other 9 yet when I publish this post. August 18th, 2011. I was on YouTube when I came across a Happy Appy video. It was named The Happy Dance, and was a promo that aired on Noggin. In it, it showed Happy, moving around like he was breakdancing. The music was slightly distorted, but it had someone making and failing at beatbox noises. Accompanying it with some lyrics on how to do the happy dance. Do the happy dance! Jump to the left! Jump to the left! Jump to the left! Jump to the left! Now jump to the right! Jump to the right! Jump to the right! Jump to the right! Now get down! And scoot to your left! Scoot to your left! Scoot to your left! Scoot to your left! Now scoot to your right! Scoot to your right! Scoot to your right! Scoot to your right! Do the happy dance! After that, it said watch Happy Appy every Monday at 8 a.m. And it ended. I know it isn't a new episode, but it's a cute thing I saw. August 23rd, 2011. As I was looking over some posts today, I noticed a draft in the folder. Normally I wouldn't have drafts in there, unless I had to finish a post on another day, so this stuck out as odd to me. I opened it, and found that Forensic had somehow gotten into my blog. I'm guessing he used a keylogger, but anything's possible. Here are the contents. Hello there, my friends! Are you feeling well today? Good! Because Gerasim is not here today. Instead, you will be getting a post from his favorite friend, Forensic F. Forensic. So life's pretty good from where I'm standing. I've killed a lot of people now. This year alone, I've killed Kevin Christensen and Justin Ye. Amazing, isn't it? Well, just you wait. Once I'm done with Jim Forrester, I'll kill Gerasim, and it ain't going to be pretty. What will I choose to kill him? Will it be the good old knife to the head? Or maybe I'll pick a slow, painful torture. I might not mentally scar him, but it isn't the question. Oh, the possibilities are endless. But now there's a big question I will answer. What will I do with Gerasim's body? Will I... And it ends there. Why did he leave off mid-sentence? Did his internet break down? Was he noticing that I was starting to wake up? Or maybe he got booted off somehow. I don't really know. All I know is that Forensic tried to post on my blog, and I'm not happy. However, there was a sound clip left on the blog post. It was a 3-minute sound clip of static, with some voices talking here and there. I'll try to decode it later. August 24th, 2011. Today, the same person who uploaded the Kevin Christensen interview on YouTube added a new interview. This time it was Jim Forrester being interviewed. He worked on some of the scripts for Happy Appy, including Nate Needs Help. So, were you one of the scriptwriters for Happy Appy? Unfortunately, yes. Do you know what happened to Happy Appy? Well, we actually managed to pull off a third of the first season just fine without any complaints whatsoever. We were all ready to begin the other thirds when we were canceled. Why was the show canceled? An accident happened. Wait, an accident happened? What kind of accident could cause the show's cancellation? During a break we did to get the employees some resting time, we made a joke episode for fun. The episode in question had 2 smoldering towers which were on fire. You know, looking at it now, it reminds me way too much of 9/11. The episode was aired because someone managed to sneak a tape and broadcast it on Noggin. And poof, the show was canceled. Good riddance. Do you know who broadcasted it? No. The only person I think that would broadcast it is... I forgot. It's been 10 years, you know? I can understand, Jim. Anyways, there's one last question. Who was the director of the show? I don't know who the director is as well. But I can tell you one thing, he's most likely dead. August 27th, 2011. Today, I found the torrent of another episode of Happy Appy, called Mean Miranda / Happy's Van Breaks. Mean Miranda's plot was about boys no older or younger than 6 to 8 being bullied by a teenage girl named Miranda. Happy gives the kids bandages and advice to help them. He kept getting progressively angrier when the episode goes on, starting from being slightly irritated to being extremely pissed off. At the end, Happy Appy coldly says, "Bully one more kid and you will get a surprise, Miranda." She, almost mockingly, kicks a boy in the leg, and Happy Appy gets in his van and drives it at her. Right before the van runs over Miranda, the episode cuts into the credits, with promos for Franklin and Blue's Clues. Happy's van break starts with the intro and immediately goes into the episode. Happy is putting a bandage on a kid's bruise when he notices that his van's engine is billowing smoke. He runs to it and notices that a part of the van's engine broke. Happy steals a mechanic's toolbox and gets to work on the engine. When Happy Appy works on the engine, a kid kicks a soccer ball, and it accidentally bounces off Happy's head. Angered, he gets a wrench, runs off screen, and beats the kid to death with it. He goes back and repairs the engine, replaces the coolant, and changes the oil. While helping more kids around the playground, the mechanic, in response to his toolbox being stolen, breaks Happy's engine. Happy gets pissed and chases the mechanic in a POV shot. Eventually, Happy grabs the mechanic and stabs the back of his head with a screwdriver several times before the episode cuts out. Oddly, the chase scene didn't have Happy's hands in it, but someone's arms painted red. So, here's the new list. 1. Happy's Vacation, 2. Hurt Happy, 3. Monkey Bar Mishap, 4. Happy Goes to School, 5. Nate Needs Help, 6. Never Runs with Knives, 7. Happy Fixes Kids, 8. Happy Fixes Kids Part 2, 9. Happy Fixes Kids Part 3, 10. The Towers, 11. Happy the Doctor, 12. 13. Mean Miranda, 14. Happy's Van Breaks, 15. Happy's Trick, 16. The Happy Appy Movie Parts 1 and 2. August 28th, 2011. Remember when I got those tapes from the now demolished studios? Well, I bought a small projector so that I could play the tapes to find out more about them. And like what I saw when I closely inspected the tapes, there were more changes than I thought they had. Here's a list of what I could find in them. Happy's Vacation has stock beach music playing in the background of the beach scenes, while my former copy did not. I guess my old copies were the work print. Also, Happy sounds slightly different. Hurt Happy has the apple in the healing scene replaced with the tomato. I think this proves my theory that the apple thing was a mistake done by the producers. Happy Goes to School has an entire removed scene with a song in it. Taking place between the math and science scenes, it involves Happy going into a social studies class and finding a kid struggling with his homework about the American Revolution. Happy tells the kid to watch what the teacher is going to put on, which is the segment of Schoolhouse Rock about the American Revolution. The boo-boo scene in Nate Needs Help is a lot shorter and overall less weird. And guess who I saw today? It was Forensic, as usual. Unlike most times, I got a good look at a part of his face. Well, to put it shortly, he might be a human. Might be. September 2nd, 2011. I found, while searching torrents for Happy Appy, an intact version of the Happy Appy movie's bonus features. Visually, it wasn't good. It was just a simple menu with a white background. There was one bonus feature, creating a Happy Appy episode. I downloaded and watched it. It was around 30 minutes long and, like the title says, showed the making of a new episode which wasn't released, called Happy Meets the Roo Bears, where Happy Appy is in a crossover with Aphex Twin. According to a worker, the episode would have been somewhere in Season 2. Here's what happens according to the clips shown. Happy is in the playground when he sees a watered-down Roo Bear running around. Happy asks who he is. The Roo Bear does not respond. Richard drives in his long limo from Window Liquor. Happy and a Roo Bear heal a kid who accidentally hit his head on the swings. To be honest, I don't think Aphex Twin in a kid's show isn't as weird as, say, Jack Black in Sesame Street. It's just me, though. September 3rd, 2011. Okay, there are two things I want to talk about on this blog post. First off, I've heard a rumor that there's an actual episode of Season 2 intact, but it's a very incomplete fan restoration, around 15% complete. I'm just going to say this now, but why would this show have fans? I can understand liking the more appropriate episodes, but... Anyways, the rumor states that it was the very first episode of Season 2 called Camp Ah. In it, it starts with the intro, as always, but with some differences. First off, Happy didn't dance in the intro, but starred the new main characters, sort of like the CSI intro. As for the main characters, they are Happy himself, a man in a ski mask called Napoleon, and a little boy named Danny. I have a weird feeling that Napoleon could actually be forensic in a different outfit. After that, it cuts to a scene where Happy Appy is in his van, but there are 2 girls in the passenger seats. The girls are only clay apple heads on sticks, no arms or stems. After driving for a while, the van parks in the camp. Happy gets a washcloth and he and the girl sit on it. For a while, they just sit on the cloth staring at the sky. After a few seconds, another apple appears, looking like a stereotypical beach jock. Happy says, "Move it, ladies," although the quality makes it sound more like, "Movie it, leddies." The second thing is that Happy Appy does not have an IMDb page. The page some people are mistaking for it is actually a TV show called The Happy Apple. I could understand why people would think it would be related to Happy Appy. Happy Apple being the rarely used full title of Happy Appy. When I mean rarely used, I mean rarely used. It was only used once in a TV Guide preview. But about the Happy Apple, it's from the 1980s. How can you confuse a TV show from the 80s about an insurance company with a noggin TV show from the 1990s that has imagery of 9/11? And don't even get me started on the Appaloosa horses. Just don't. September 4th, 2011. I finished decoding the sound clip, and, well, I began to decode it. When I began to decode it, I heard static with some odd noises here and there. I tried reversing it, changing the pitch, slowing the speed, and adding volume, with some successful results. At first, it was just the sound of Happy Appy laughing. It wasn't a regular laugh, however, but one that sounded like he was injured. Shortly after that, Happy started screaming, and you could hear someone else laughing. Like Happy, it sounded like the person that had begun to laugh was also injured. I guess it's a child struggling against a murderous Happy Appy, but it could be damn near anybody. September 5th, 2011. After 16 pages of a Google search, I found someone who said that they were a member of the staff who made Happy Appy. I was excited, so I got their address so I could meet them in person. It took a long time because the directions they gave me required me to go through a lonely dirt road, and I thought that I would get my shoes dirty. Hey, can't be too cautious, can I? Well, anyway, I was at an angle where I could see the person who was standing near his house. I was right about to yell out to them, but I got a closer look and freaked out. It was Forensic, standing near the house right behind the corner of a building I was about to pass. If I had passed it, Forensic would have caught me off guard and stabbed me to death. I don't know why Forensic had set this up, but he is definitely out to get me. He was still looking at the way where I was supposed to have come through and quickly checking his watch, so he didn't see me yet. He was a human. He was wearing this weird mask that looked like a happy baby, and the mouth would often move, giving the impression that he was literally a baby face. His arms were bone skinny, and it looked like he needed to put on 20 pounds to be considered barely underweight. He started getting more and more nervous and thinking that I wasn't going to show up. What was also of note was that near the house, there was a van that was very similar to the one that Happy rode. I ran off and went back to my house to tell you about this near-death experience, since it'll probably happen more and more often. September 6th, 2011. Since I was freaked out by Forensic, and it is nearing 9/11, I rewatched the Towers episode again. When I played it, I heard that faint whining noise in the background of the famous scene, and I instantly recognized it as a much quieter version of the decoded sound I was talking about 2 days ago. I don't know why that was playing was in there, but it was. I still can't imagine out what could match that audio clip. September 7th, 2011. I finally figured out what the sound clip is. While I was getting my groceries, it came to me that the voice that wasn't Happy sounded a lot like Forensic. Quickly, I came up with the idea that the sound clip was Forensic fighting with Happy Appy. I don't know why he would fight Happy, an inanimate clay puppet, unless he had some sort of mental condition. While I was on my way home, I saw a police car with its lights on and sirens blaring, so I followed it. When the police car stopped, I saw the cops leave the car quickly and run after a thin figure, which had dropped a gun and something red. It was none other than the Happy Appy puppet, with some dirt on it. I could have sworn that I saw Happy's mouth moving, but I was so freaked out that I wasn't sure if Happy's mouth was moving or not. Suddenly, it came to me that if this figurine was the one I owned, Forensic must have broken into my house. Before the police came back, I got into my car and went back home. Thankfully, it was unscathed, and one of the front windows was opened. Once I got in, I shut the window and looked for the Happy Appy puppet, which I had put in the living room. However, it was nowhere to be found. After I write this blog post and go to bed, I'm buying a nice knife as soon as I can. September 9th, 2011. I'm not sure how, but maybe the audio of Forensic and Happy was planned to be in a future episode of Happy Appy, and got mixed up while they were putting the sound and music in. Was Forensic around while Happy Appy was being made, and put himself in one of the episodes because he was in the staff? Did he get so much infamy during the time that the producers decided he was perfect material to mock? I still can't put this together. There's some good news about Forensic, though. To quote from today's newspaper, "A crazed maniac was arrested last night after a robbery in a firearms store, a home break-in, use of firearms without a permit, linkage to various murders, and evading arrest." Some days I ask myself why I chose to get involved in Happy Appy. September 10th, 2011. Well, tomorrow is going to be the 10th year since 9/11. Oh joy. In all seriousness, I have too many thoughts in my head right now. Will I be visited by Forensic again? Or will I be murdered in my sleep? Will my house burn down again? Or will I have a normal day for once? I am not going to make a post on September 11th, but on September 12th. Oh, and here's another revision to the list with Season 2's 2 unreleased episodes, and the duets properly listed. Season 1, Happy's Vacation and Hurt Happy. 2, Monkey Bar Mishap and Happy Goes to School. 3, Nate Needs Help, no second part. 4, Never Run with Knives and Happy Fixes Kids. 5, Happy Fixes Kids Part 2 and Happy Fixes Kids Part 3. 6, The Towers. 7, Happy the Doctor. 8, Happy's Van Breaks and Mean Miranda. 9, Happy's Trick and... I think there's a second half. 10, The Happy Appy Movie Part 1 and The Happy Appy Movie Part 2. Season 2, Happy Meets the Roo Bears and Camp Ah. Possibly vice versa? September 11th, 2011. I know I'm not supposed to make a post on September 11th, but I really had to get this post out. Last night, a certain someone went on my computer today. Luckily, the only things that Forensic did was add 3 photos, a notepad file, and a badly distorted sound clip. The images and notepad were made today, during 2:20 to 2:30 a.m., while the sound clip was created on July 14th of this year. All the images were made using Paint, had the file name Image1 to Image3, and all were badly drawn. Considering that Forensic wears a gas mask and has long, skinny fingers not fit to use my mouse, I knew they wouldn't in good quality. The first image was Happy Appy smiling on a dark red background, with a knife in one hand, and words that say, "That's natural, children!" I found out that this one was actually a GIF and not a PNG. I stared at it, and for one frame, Happy had blood on his teeth and knife. The second image is the only one that does not show something. It is, in fact, a portion of the song, "They're Coming to Take Me Away, haha!" I seriously want to know what the connection is between Napoleon XIV and Happy Appy / Forensic. Is it that they're both disturbing to listen to? Or is there something else I don't understand? The last image is more notable than the rest. It was Forensic standing behind a black background, which has, "I'll find you" in red. The reason the photo is the most notable is that it shows Forensic's long, pale neck, gray clothes, and his unusual gas mask. It's actually more high quality than the other photo I took of him, even though the picture is quite bland. However, it doesn't show his filters, which is odd. The notepad file contained another gibberish string. Advmet of Why do I keep seeing these gibberish strings? Are they a secret code of some sort that Forensic wants me to crack? Oh, yes, about the sound clip. It starts with a bunch of ambiance that sounds like it would belong in a factory. There was metal banging, steam blowing, all that stuff. It might be possible that it is just some of the distortion. In the background, I heard a person walking, kicking over an empty tin can. After this, I heard a voice that sounded like someone beginning to say, "Stop!" before it goes to static for the rest of the clip. My best guess of what this sound clip could be is Forensic killing someone. But looking at the date the file was made, which was on the 12th of July, could this sound file be related to Trestanier? I somewhat doubt it, to be honest. September 12th, 2011. Today was one of the worst days I have ever had. But at the same time, it was also one of the best. It all started when I was coming home after getting late-night groceries on September 11th, when I noticed Forensic was crossing the road to my house. Knowing that he would try to burn down my house again or steal something, I sped up and had the car ram him at full force. I heard a couple of bones breaking, and I knew I must have injured or possibly killed him. So, I grabbed a flashlight and got out of my car, and to my surprise, I couldn't find Forensic, although he made a trail of blood which pointed to where he went, so I followed the blood. The trail led me to the nearby forest a couple of miles out of town. I had doubts about this. Forensic had run off into the woods, and is probably ready to attack me if I go too deep into it. I put those thoughts aside, since I knew I had to kill Forensic in one way or another. So I got my knife from the car and went into the forest. The blood stopped at a dirt trail, and a few meters from it was a sign. The letters were faded, but I shined a light on the sign, and it read, John Wilkinson Summer Camp. The John Wilkinson Summer Camp opened in 1996. The owner of the summer camp was, unsurprisingly, John Wilkinson, a 35-year-old man who had a mild case of schizophrenia. For years, it was a very popular summer camp. Kids kept coming to it, with some coming all the way from Maine and the United Kingdom. Unfortunately, in 2004, John Wilkinson's worsening schizophrenia reached a peak, and around 2 in the night, John got an axe, went into the log cabins, and killed 6 children, before disappearing into the woods. The summer camp closed down, and the case remains cold to this day. I went up the dirt road to the summer camp, which was in an overgrown grove. Over the years, the summer camp deteriorated, letting various moss and fungus grow on the rotting wood of the old cabins. I went into A first. Just for reference, the cabin series are A, 16 to 18-year-olds, B, 13 to 15-year-olds, C, 10 to 12-year-olds, and D, 7 to 9-year-olds. It looked like a regular cabin, minus the fact that blood was on the walls, beds were undone, some of the wood was rotting, and there was an axe stuck in the wall. Obviously, since an axe is a better weapon than a knife, I took it. I went to B and axed the door down. It was the same as A, minus the axe. C was the same. Finally, I axed down D's door. As I walked in, I noticed the sound of a generator running. Knowing that this room was different from the rest, I turned the lights on. I wish I hadn't, because as soon as the old light flickered on, I was horrified at what I had seen. On the walls at the back of the cabin were the mutilated bodies of Kevin Christensen, Trestanier, and Miranda, held up by meat hooks. I was completely paralyzed in fear for a minute. My breathing became more rapid, my heartbeat sped up, and I started sweating. Behind me, I heard an all-too-familiar slithering voice with what sounded like an East Coast accent. "Do you like my trophies?" I jumped at the sudden voice and sharply turned around. It was none other than Forensic, with a dull, rusty butcher knife. He was wearing a black butcher's robe, heavy winter clothing, and of course, his trademark gas mask. "Go on, Garrison! Go on and take a closer look at my trophies! You know you wanna, out of your sick, morbid, but somehow natural curiosity!" When he said that, I was both horrified and intrigued. Even though I had a paralyzing fear, I walked up slowly to the body of Kevin Christensen. His body had 3 slice marks on his chest, Half the skin on his face was gone, and various nails were rammed into his body in such graphic ways that I can't mention it. His jaw was positioned to make it look like he was laughing at something. I had to stop Forensic from killing any more people in this horrible way. There was a half-broken mirror next to Kevin's body. I picked it up with my shaking hand and saw Forensic sitting down a chair, preparing to sharpen the rusty knife with a large grinding wheel. "So," Forensic cheerfully said, "you found me at last. Congratulations, Garrison. You deserve an award. Do you want to know what it is? What the hell did you do with them?" I yelled. Even though it wasn't what Forensic was expecting, it seemed like the only thing I could say to him. "Well, since you asked, Forensic will tell you what he did," Forensic said as he got up to stretch his arms. "But first, I'll tell you the reward. It's a knife to the throat," he laughed, which turned from a somewhat girly giggle to a psychopathic laugh. After catching his breath, he said, "To put a long story short, they were people who had annoyed me to a certain extent. First off, Kevin Christensen deserved his natural fate because he kept calling me slow and retarded. I personally got offended by that. So, when you were still watching those 10 episodes, I managed to find and kill him. I watched you enter the house with that photo of Happy Appy in the bushes." After that, he sat down again and kept sharpening that knife. I could barely say, "What about Tristan and Miranda?" Don't mention Tristan, He was a foolish little kid who was the voice of Happy Appy. I don't know why they got a teenager to voice Happy Appy, even though I should have done it. It feels natural, wouldn't you say? Also, he was much ruder than Christensen, and not as bad as Miranda. So who told you about Tristan's death? Was it Jim Forrester? Is it? I was shocked, but I slowly nodded my head. Forensic put the now sharpened knife to one side and began to sharpen another dull knife. Suddenly, he talked in a rather deadpan voice. "I know he'd tell you about his death. I mean, you do report the deaths of the employees of Happy Appy, right?" I slowly nodded my head again. He sighed and said, "Well, I guess that's okay with me. Tell the world that the employees of a once famous Nickelodeon show are dying." Forensic slouched over and sighed again. He perked up and said worriedly, "Oh, I got distracted. Finally, there's Miranda. Well, you see, Happy Appy didn't kill her with his van in Mean Miranda. She got killed off for a while since she was very rude and kept insulting me, prompting me to hit her every time she made fun of me. And quite frankly, she deserved it in the end." The sudden tone shift made me jump a little. It didn't help that he laughed like an absolute maniac. "I got distracted again. After the episode, Happy Appy and I killed her as a natural, beautiful team. Now that I've told you their fates, go ahead, get closer to the bodies. Closer. Closer!" The tone of Forensic's voice at the last "closer" made me jump a bit. Hearing him, a very deadpan serial killer, scream at me like that was shocking. The problem was that I was still paralyzed, so I couldn't move that great. "Come on, Garrison, stop fucking around! You don't want to end up like they did, right? Just go and get closer to the bodies! Now, goddammit!" And again I jumped. This time, Forensic jumped out of the chair and started forcibly pushing me towards Tristan's body. I heard him begin to growl in fury. Tristan was as disfigured as Kevin was. He had the same slice marks, but in the abdomen area. His facial skin was also gone, but was sloppier than Kevin's mutilation. He was also laughing, but it was more forced, like Forensic dug his hands in his jaw and forced it open. I had one more thing to say to Forensic before I planned to kill him. About that sound file you left on my computer. The one that sounded like it was in a factory. What was that? "Oh, it was me killing Tristan. Don't ask why, but I love to record people's death cries as I kill them. It's so natural to me, if you will." He muttered something that I could barely hear, but it was basically along the lines of, Damn, I need to stop saying natural. He replied with, "Now that you've seen Kevin and Tristan's bodies, how about you see Miranda's? It's the best in my opinion, since she deserved her fate the most!" And again I jumped. I moved to her body, just so that I wouldn't be screamed at by Forensic again, and possibly piss him off so much that he would murder me. Unlike the others, Miranda was barely recognizable. Pieces of her flesh and organs had bite marks in them, and her limbs were dismembered. Again, she was laughing, but this time I couldn't tell at first. I still had the broken mirror, and noticed Forensic was slowly holding up the second knife he sharpened in his left hand, to backstab me. Forensic said, "Well, now that you've got all of your questions answered, it's time for you to go." "No!" I screamed, before taking out the axe and striking his left arm. He laughed in half agony, half enjoyment while I chopped it off. After chopping off his arm, I ran out of the house, leaving the axe with him. Outside, I found a can of gasoline. I dumped the gasoline all over the house. When I was finished, Forensic woke up. Realizing what I was doing, he grabbed the axe I had and a bag full of weapons and ran off into the woods. I got a match and burned the cabin down. For a moment, it felt very satisfying to destroy Forensic's hideout, in the same way he destroyed my former house. September 13th, 2011. The local policemen are, for the most part, assholes. Even though I work for them, when I tried to tell the officers about Forensic, most of them dismissed the story, saying it never happened. One of the officers, Robert Newport, did believe my story, albeit reluctantly. At least somebody at work believes me. However, due to some money issues, I'm going to take a month-long break from Happy Appy. I expect to return sometime in October. See you later. October 19th, 2011. Hey guys, I'm back. I should let you all know that any rumors regarding my break are all false. I didn't see Forensic during the break, which made my life easier. Also, I'll try to find all episodes of Happy Appy, I promise. Garrison. October 21st, 2011. Today I was going through a flea market when I realized that I could find a Happy Appy episode in the VHS section. After looking through some obscure VHS movies, I found a VHS with a rushed label. Happy Appy Goes to the Circus. Since I buy almost anything Happy Appy related, I bought the tape. After driving home, I got my VHS player and put the tape in, which had some pretty bad deterioration since the episode was recorded. Some parts of the episode taped over with an episode of Blue's Clues, and what wasn't taped over had very low quality audio and video. The title is the plot in a nutshell. Happy Appy goes to a traveling circus and helps kids who get hurt. The episode starts out with Happy Appy buying a ticket to see the Banana Brothers traveling circus. After buying popcorn and a drink, he gets into a seat and the show begins. Unfortunately, half of the scene was replaced with either the Blue's Clues episode or static, and the show scene was pretty bad anyway. I mean, the show is already low budget as is, but the show scene was by far the laziest thing on the show's run. The bulky strings were visible during stunts, the models were very rushed, the camera was unfocused, and someone's head was visible in a scene. After the 3-minute-long scene, it goes to the intermission. Happy Appy throws his trash away when he hears a kid crying. He walks to where he thought the cry came from, and discovers a kid who hit his head on the bleachers. Happy heals him using bandages and an ice pack, and the kid thanks him. Then Happy Appy realizes that the trapeze act, the Flying Apples, has a missing member. Happy sees this as an opportunity to make him more popular with everyone, especially children. He gets dressed as Aaron Apple, the other 4 were Abraham, Adam, Andrew, and Auburn, and talks to the rest of the act about how late he was. The second half of the show begins, and the first act was, unsurprisingly, the Flying Apples. Unlike the rest of the circus scenes, the trapeze act was actually decently made. It was like the entire budget of the episode was spent on making the Flying Apples part look good. After that, more of those god-awful circus scenes played. Although the clown scene was somewhat funny. And the circus show ends, and they tell the Flying Apples how well they had done in the trapeze act. After that, Happy is seen walking out when he sees a kid get bullied by a bandaged girl. Happy gets closer, and guess who is bullying the kid? Miranda. Miranda tells Happy Appy that she has a knife on her. The video cuts out, yet the audio keeps playing. This was probably a good thing for me, since Miranda began to scream while Happy began to chop her up with a knife, laughing. October 23rd, 2011. Today I am going to try to answer a massive question about Happy Appy. Why does Happy Appy murder kids? Well, I might have an answer to the question for once. You see, after I went to the employee's house where Forensic was at, I had two ideas. Did Forensic kill the employee? Or is Forensic the employee? I think the most likely answer is the latter. Another question arises. Who exactly is Forensic? Well, I can say a few things about this question. It's not Kevin Christensen, Tristan Ye, or possibly Jim Forrester. Also, I can't really confirm Forensic's identity. You might be saying that the decapitated arm has Forensic's blood in it and his fingerprints. Well, it's not that. You see, I didn't keep the arm. I made the foolish mistake of leaving it at the summer camp. Even if I did keep it, Forensic keeps coming back, meaning that there could be a lot of people posing as him. So what did the last paragraph have to do with the question? Well, Forensic might have edited the episodes to show those horrifying scenes. It makes sense if Forensic was an employee, since he would have access to the props and the tapes. Because of this, more questions arise. 1. Why did Forensic go crazy? 2. Why are there not a lot of survivors of Happy Appy? 3. How did the studio burn down? Did Forensic do it? Here are my guesses to the answers to the questions, and they will change if I get more evidence. 1. This sounds weird, but maybe he's John Wilkinson. This makes sense, actually. John Wilkinson had schizophrenia, and, as you probably all know, killed children at his summer camp. The only problem is that he was chubby, while Forensic is very skinny. However, things can change. 2. Maybe Forensic killed them. This seems plausible because I can say that 4 people related to Happy Appy died, other than the countless amounts of children. 3. I think Forensic might have burned the studio down, for reasons I don't know about. October 24th, 2011. Today, Jim Forrester, who is surprisingly still alive, told me the names of more people who helped work on Happy Appy, which puts me a bit closer to whom Forensic could be. First, there's Tristan Drews, the man who created the last designs of the Happy Appy puppet. After hearing about the string of deaths associated with people who worked on Happy Appy, Tristan went into hiding. He's still alive, but goes under a different identity. Secondly, there's John Trusty, the man who created the music for Happy Appy. He was a musician who specialized in keyboards, synthesizers, and song production. After releasing his debut album, Hidalgo, which to this day is hard to find, he was called to work on Happy Appy's title theme. Although some parts of the story of the creation of the theme are missing, John basically got 5 kindergarten students and had the kids sing the Happy Appy lyrics. After that, he made the backing synthesizer track, combined the two, and previewed the result to Nickelodeon. Nickelodeon approved the theme song, and John kept his job, due to Hidalgo being a failure to sell. He's also still alive. Finally, there's John Wilkinson. Yes, I'm not lying, John Wilkinson actually worked on Happy Appy. He wrote 3 of the episodes for the TV series. I swear, I really think Forensic isn't John Wilkinson, but because he's schizophrenic, killed people, and Happy Appy does not help. October 25th, 2011. Today, I was sent in the mail a DVD called Happy Appy's Bonus Features. However, when I tried to play the disc, it didn't work at all. The entire video was static, and the audio consisted of 5 swooshes and a weird voice. I tried to decode the weird noise, and after half an hour of playing with various audio tools, the weird noise turned out to be a kid talking to the listener. "Don't trust Happy Appy. He has friends that will murder you. Never come with him into his van." October 26th, 2011. Somebody sent me a video of the first part of the true Happy Appy movie. Apparently, the movie I owned was either fake or a really long episode. The movie started up with a different opening. The song playing was the opening song of 2001: Space Odyssey. The logo said, "Noggin presents the Happy Appy movie." The first scene of the movie had Happy in his long coat, putting a bandage on a cut that was on a girl's arm. "Today I'm scared, Lily," said Happy. Lily asked why, but Happy just said, "He is coming, and no one can stop him." I wondered who exactly the person Happy mentioned was. Was it forensic? 7 other kids came running over, and in the background, policemen were running over to the playground where Happy and the kids were. For a couple of minutes, multiple policemen were yelling at Happy. Finally, the sheriff came out of a car and said, "Stop it in the name of the law! I know you've murdered Miranda, Tuck, and Gina." Happy grabs another needle with green fluids from his long coat and stabs the sheriff in the eye with it, while laughing like a maniac. In response, the cops took out their sidearms and shot Happy to death. His bullet-riddled body fell to the ground, while kids began to walk over and cry over him. The police left, knowing that they finally dealt with Happy. And the episode just got outright bizarre. Happy was suddenly revived and stood up. The kids ran away screaming. Happy took out another knife and started to chase Lily in a POV shot. After 30 seconds, Happy grabbed her and broke her neck. The snap that resulted was enough for me to stop the video for a while. I resumed, and the camera cut to the rest of the kids running away from Happy Appy. Happy got in his van and drove after a little boy. As soon as I saw the boy, I recognized him as Danny from the Camp Ah intro. Given his significance there, could Danny be the one who Happy was talking about earlier? Anyway, one of the girls yelled, "Danny, no!" Danny picked up a lit cigarette that fell from the sheriff's mouth, gets into the van, and burns Happy's face, leaving a black burn on his left cheek. Happy screams and Danny runs off. It cuts to Happy chasing Danny in his van. Danny opens the door again, climbs into the passenger seat, and tries to distract Happy. Eventually, Happy crashes the van into a tree, and Danny gets thrown out of the van. Happy climbs out of the van and picks up a sharp stick off the ground. It cuts to Danny, waking up and picking up Happy's dropped knife. After that, it faded to black. I sent a message to the man who made the torrent if he had part 2. He said yes, and that it would be done on the 27th. I guess I'll just have to wait. October 27th, 2011. I just finished watching the Happy Appy movie, and it was weird. However, I did find something that will interest you. It starts with Danny running to a junkyard. He hid in a car, and it cuts to a girl in the playground, playing with a tin can. Happy Appy slowly crept up to her. The girl screams, and he stabbed the girl with a stick. He runs off to get into his van. After driving for a while, he reaches the junkyard. Happy gets out of his car and looks around, yelling for Danny. Danny jumps into the car, Happy swears, and Danny runs him over. He jumps out of the car, and the van pushes Happy into a car crusher, and it crushes Happy and the van. A horrifying crushed car cube comes out, with Happy's skin, blood, and organs all over the fragments of the van. A woman comes out of the cockpit, and Danny says, "Thank you, June." She says, "Thank you for telling me and Dad about Happy's rage." I couldn't take this anymore. I wanted the movie to end, now. I was wrong. Oh, was I wrong. Another Happy peeks behind an old car and boastfully says, "Did you really think that I was going to die like that to a kid? Well, if you thought so, you're wrong." The credits start. Because of a video error, I could only make out these names in the credits. Director, Tristan Yap. Producers, Keith Blue and Joanne Broop. Happy Appy, Tristan Ye. Danny, Ray Bolia. After all of this time, I have found the identity of the director of Happy Appy, and/or Forensic. I'll need to research more about him. October 31st, 2011. Have a happy and safe Halloween, everyone. Knowing Forensic, I know I probably won't. Anyways, today I got a package in the mail. Taped to it was an envelope with a letter inside. The letter read like this. Dear Mr. Yakolev, during a recent investigation of Kevin Christensen's house, I found a damaged journal that seemed to be related to the show your blog is talking about. I hope it will help you find out more information about Happy Appy. Sincerely, Officer Robert Newport. I opened the package, and inside was a 70-page notebook. However, most of the pages had been torn out. Here are the entries in chronological order. February 9th, 1999. I finally got a job at Nickelodeon yesterday. So far, I have been put on a possible Nickelodeon project that is still in pre-production as I write this entry. I'll write more soon. February 25th, 1999. I've been put out of the project to work on Rugrats. The plot of the planned show, which was called Attack of the Killer Apples, was a rip-off of the movie Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. The problem was that almost no one liked the idea, including me. March 1st, 1999. Guess what? I've heard that the Apple Show is going to see the light of day. The man who's going to help produce the show, Keith Blue, did some claymation commercials for Noggin. Since they're some of the most popular commercials on Noggin, the creator asked that he should work on the show. March 11th, 1999. I overheard a rumor that we're filming at the old stage where Double Dare was being filmed. March 23rd, 1999. I want to leave this project now. You see, today I was eating lunch when I saw some sick fucker dragging in Happy's voice actor, Treston, who was in his late teens and had a pretty deep voice. We started filming tests like Happy in his van and practicing lines. The guy who dragged Treston in shouted action. A weird country song started playing on the radio in the van. I shouted to the guy who shouted action and dragged Treston, "What the fuck did you do to Treston?" He just jumped over a coffee table and... Rest of page and every page except the last is torn off. January 2nd, 2011. Today, I remembered 2 things about Happy Appy today. The show's original air dates and some facts. The air dates were Nick Jr. and Noggin, April 26, 1999 through June 3rd, 1999. Pre-TV, UK channel, May 16th, 1999, March 31st, 2000. Brazil, I don't know where in Brazil. November 30th, 1999, February 1st, 2000. The facts are: 1. Happy Appy had a scrapped DVD release. 2. The director was tall and mid-weight. 3. He went by the name Fred. So it turns out that Tristan Yap isn't the director. I'm still wondering about who the director is, though. November 1st, 2011. I finally did it. I killed Forensic and found a shocking discovery. Well, I think I have. You see, I was driving home at midnight when I saw Forensic running away from Jim's house. Knowing that he might have grazed, injured, or even killed Jim, I parked my car on the sidewalk and ran into Jim's house with my knife. I looked all around the house, except for the basement, but I couldn't find Jim or Forensic. During this, I took a Winchester shotgun from his living room, just so that I could better arm myself. After checking all around his house, I went into his basement. I saw what looked like Jim's bleeding body sitting on the floor of the basement. I ran to him, thinking that he was dead. However, he wasn't, and said, "Oh, Jesus, Garrison, don't scare me like that." I said, "Sorry, Jim. Did you know that Jim interrupted me with, "Yeah, I know what's going on. Forensic, or whoever the hell he is, has broken into my house. That's why I stained my best clothes with ketchup." I heard Forensic open the door and loaded the Winchester. After telling Jim that I'd be back soon, I ran up the stairs, cornered Forensic, and shot him in the chest. For a second, I thought that I had finally killed him. However, someone looking just like him jumped behind me and tried to stab the back of my head with a knife. I shot him in the chest like the other Forensic. I thought I had killed them both, but the second Forensic tried to make a run for it. However, his injuries made him collapse before he could run out of the house. I went into the cellar and called the police, before I noticed that the first Forensic was missing. When I went back to the cellar to see Jim again, I found a USB drive lying on a bookshelf, and I took it. When I told Jim about the USB drive and where it came from, he said, "That's odd. I certainly don't remember owning a USB drive like that. I seriously wonder what's in it." After a long wait, the police arrived. Thankfully, Newport believed me when I told him about what happened. I'm just going to say this, but I'm honestly starting to feel like he believes me. I got home and put the USB drive in my computer. It had only one file called Instructions. which was just a minute-long video of one of the forensics saying, "In your pillow will be," over and over. In your pillow will be what? I opened my pillow, and inside, I found a random switchblade, my wallet, which was missing a $20 bill I'd put in there, and a DVD saying Happy Appy Complete Series, with a label saying Season 1 was on it, as well as Season 2. At first, all I could say was, "What the hell is this?" I could understand Season 1 clear as day, but who made Season 2? Could someone have made more episodes that toned down the violence? Or did someone make even darker episodes? Better yet, who made these? Jim? Kevin? Or maybe it's Forensic. It has to be Forensic. But now I don't even know. I'm only watching the episodes just because they're Happy Appy. Second post. Today I talked to Jim about the DVD. His response was, "Well, that's very odd. I mean, who in their right mind would make 2 more seasons to that show?" He added that he wanted to see the new season as well. So tomorrow we're going to go through and see the missing episodes of Season 1, as well as Season 2. Also, another interview was uploaded by the same man. This time it was an interview with Treston Ye. Treston Ye? That's me. How old were you when Fright House Screamers was around? 15. What happened when you did Happy's voice on the first day? When I recorded my lines on the first 2 minisodes called Happy's Vacation and Hurt Happy, I did notice some odd things with the script for those episodes. In Hurt Happy, he ate an apple, which was weird considering he was, well, an apple. What was the worst thing that happened to you when you were on the show? I don't like to discuss with people about it, but here it goes. I was once dragged into the studios by a tall man holding a rope which was tied around my feet. After an argument, we filmed the episodes. That's just horrifying to say the least. Do you know who dragged you in? I actually don't remember. The only thing I know about the man was that he was taller than most of us. November 2nd, 2011. This will be the first of 3 posts detailing Jim and I watching the contents of the DVD. Even though we are watching the disc, I still can't get over the fact that there's another season of Happy Appy. I really can't. As soon as the DVD loaded, we saw that it had a freeware DVD burner menu. Obviously, Forensic, or whoever had made the disc, did it as cheap as possible. I went to the episode menu and looked through the episodes for Season 1, in case there were any that I missed. The 2 distorted episodes for Season 1 were actually watchable, and were named Happy at the Food Olympics and Nate Needs Help, Happy in Space and Mean Miranda. I pressed next and found the entire episode list for Season 2. Happy Meets the Roo Bears and Camp Happy in the Oranges and Happy's Van Breaks. Lighter and Happy in Blackberry. Napoleon, The Big Help, and Nooksik. Rose of Blood and Bones and Can of Kill. Jar of Hate and Happy's Rising. Happy Kills Benny and Miranda Lives. Miranda Dies. There's no second episode for some reason. Napoleon, A Bigger Help, and Meaner. Happy Appy's Christmas and Happy's House. Napoleon, The Biggest Help, and Danny's Love. Happy Fest, Happy Rots in Hell. Epilogue. Judging from the names, we could only guess that Forensic made these. But who is he? I played Happy at the Food Olympics, since that was one of the 2 episodes of Season 1 that I didn't watch. It began with Happy Appy saying, "Hey kids, the Food Olympics begin today," and watches TV. It zooms to the television set, and shows a recreation of the Olympic torch relay, but with fruit. After the torch holder, an apple, lights the Olympic flame, the games begin. It's a cheesy compilation of sports played in the Olympics, but with fruit. It reminded me of the circus episode's Act 1 scene, but visually a lot better. Happy turns to the camera and says, "Hey kids, the 2000 Olympics begin in a year. You should go see it." And the episode ends. When it ended, Jim told me that he actually remembered helping film the episode, and even did a few of the puppets with Kevin Christensen and Tristan Drews. Happy in Space was next, and it was horrific. It starts out with Happy Appy sneaking on the space shuttle, and turns to the camera and says, "Hey kids, your old pal Happy Appy is going into space today," and waits. The shuttle docks at a lookalike of the International Space Station. After all the astronauts leave, Happy sneaks out of the shuttle and starts floating. He says, "Did you know that in outer space there is no gravity, meaning you float in midair?" He puts on a spacesuit and goes out of the ISS. An astronaut is working on a broken part of the station. Happy says, "In space, no one can hear you talk, or scream for that matter," and stabs the astronaut. We see him float off into space for around a minute. After this, Happy goes back in and find out that the shuttle is about to leave. Happy jumps in the space shuttle. The space shuttle begins to enter the atmosphere. Happy turns to the camera, says, "Hey kids, watch this magic trick," and sets a man on fire. The shuttle starts to catch on fire, which is exactly like the scene in Happy's trick. We see Happy give a death smile as the shuttle is engulfed in flames. Happy jumps out before he gets burned and lands in snow. He says, "Hey kids, one day you will see something like this on TV." Behind him, the shuttle was breaking up into small pieces. The credits rolled. I played Happy Meets the Roo Bears and Camp Ah. It starts with the intro, which is now an acoustic version of the intro. It begins with Happy Appy walking in the playground with his injuries. He sees the green Roo Bear running around, and Happy says, "Hey, Mr. Teddy!" And the Roo Bear doesn't respond. Happy says, "Mr. Teddy, let's go find some kids to heal." And the Roo Bear nods his head. They hear crying coming from the swings. Happy and the Roo Bear walk over to a kid who hit his head on the part of the swings that you sit on. Happy gets out some bandages and heals the kid. They hear a car ram into another. Happy turns around and sees a long limousine crashing into a van, which wasn't Happy's. A man exits the car, and it turns out to be Aphex Twin himself. He starts doing the dance with the umbrella, but it was just stock footage from window liquor hastily put together. Happy and the Roo Bear walk up to him, and Happy says, "Hey, who are you?" And Aphex says, "My name is Richard." And Happy says, "Let's go find some children to heal." And Aphex says, "Sure." The rest of the episode is just them healing children who injure themselves on various parts of the playground. When we first saw this episode, it was so tame for a Halloween special that I thought it was a Season 1 episode mislabeled as a Season 2 episode. Also, I told Jim, why was the episode Happy and the Roo Bears if only the green one is present? He said that there would have been all three, but they didn't have enough money to get the others. We saw Camp Ah. It starts with the intro, which was that CSI-like intro featuring the main characters, Happy, Napoleon, who could be forensic, and Danny from the TV movie. Why was the acoustic version used once? It starts with Happy driving his van, saying, "Who's ready for a camping trip?" with two girls in the passenger seats cheering. After driving for a while, Happy Appy parks in the camp, sets the washcloth, and sits on it next to the girls. After staring at the sky for a few seconds, the beach jock apple appears. Happy says, "Move it, ladies," and it's much clearer this time. Suddenly, some sort of quality shift happened. Happy's voice was different, the girls looked different, and so did the bully. It was almost like another person picked up where Nick left off and did a horrible job at it. Anyway, the beach jock apple says, "Don't go on the beach," and Happy says, "Why?" The beach jock apple says, "Because I said so," and pushes Happy out of the way. Happy decides to go up the trail to the beach. What he finds are a bunch of children playing on the beach, and one is poking at something out of view with a stick. It turns to the object, which is Miranda's body. Happy screams, "Stop doing that!" and brings out a knife. The next shot showed the girls still sitting on the washcloth when they hear children screaming. One of the girls says, "What happened?" And the other one says, "Let's go find out." The two girls go to the beach, but what they find are a bunch of children's bodies in one horrifying pile. On the top of the pile was a blood-stained Happy Appy with a knife. He turns around with a death smile and says, "Hey girls, I have a present for you. Come over here." And they both walk over. And it cuts to the same place with the washcloth, now with both girls screaming. The episode ends with Happy Appy dragging some children back into his van and driving off with this narration. "And that, my friends, is how Camp Ah got its name, from Happy Appy himself. Interestingly, there was whispering during the credits of the episode. They were very brief. December 14th. We had no idea what that date meant. Was it supposed to be related to a season of the show? I played the episode Happy in the Oranges. It starts with the same old intro of Happy Appy dancing, and it cuts to Happy killing the beach jock apple. This episode must have taken place after Camp Ah. We see Happy Appy walking around the playground with children at play. Happy sees something to the right. He sees two puppets that were oranges sitting on a bench. Happy walks to the bench and says, "Hey, who are you?" And the oranges said, "We're the oranges." And Happy said, "Well, I'm Happy Appy." And the oranges screamed and ran off. Happy shouts, "Every goddamn time," and goes into his van. He goes to the orange's house in the middle of the night. The first orange is watching TV, while the second orange is reading a book. The second orange says, "Hey, Oscar." He replies with, "What, Octavius?" And Octavius Orange asks, "Did you know that no words rhyme with orange?" Oscar Orange says, "Oh, really?" Octavius Orange finishes with, "Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna go to bed. Running from Happy sure tired me out." And Oscar Orange nods and continues to watch TV. Happy Appy jumps into the roof of their house with an orange peeler in his right hand. He whispers, "Hey kids, let's go skin some oranges." And Happy climbs down the ladder to where Octavius Orange is and peels his skin. After that, he puts Octavius Orange in a vise and starts turning the crank, making Octavius get squeezed. After this, Oscar Orange knocks on the door, and Happy jumps into the ceiling. When Oscar Orange opens the door and turns on the light, he sees Octavius Orange's body and screams. Happy Appy comes down from the ceiling and peels and vices him in the same way as Oscar Orange, and the episode ends. Lighter's premise was about Happy finding a Zippo lighter lying around on the playground. It starts with the regular old intro, but with the acoustic version. Why the acoustic version this time? It cuts to Happy walking on the playground. I have a question. If Happy kills a lot of children, why don't the children notice him instantly? Or the parents? Happy stops and picks up a lighter. He says, "Hey kids, look what Happy found." It cuts to Happy turning on the lighter. He says, "Today, we're going to learn about fire." We know what was most likely going to happen. Happy burns down houses and sets children on fire. Happy Appy walks over to a living worm. He exclaims, "Fire can badly hurt people, and in some cases kill them. Like this worm!" He set the worm on fire, and you can see its body turn into ashes. Happy said, "Magnifying glasses can also set small insects on fire," before walking over to a kid. The kid didn't recognize him, and Happy turned on the lighter and set the kid on fire. The kid tried to stop, drop, and roll, but it was too late. Happy said, "Let's go find a house to burn." And Happy walks over to a house on a boardwalk and burns it down. The fire spreads, and the entire boardwalk catches on fire. The rest of the episode after that was Happy watching the place burn to the ground. At the end, he says in his cheerful voice, "That was fun. You know, you should do just that to make me proud." Jim said in a smug tone, "Sure, let's totally follow an apple's words and burn shit down." I played Happy in the Blackberry, which was 2 minutes short of a normal episode of Happy Appy. It starts out with a giant angry blackberry puppet saying, "Hey, my name's Derry Berry, and I hate Happy Appy." Derry runs toward Happy, who is putting medical tapes and cotton on a kid's bloody gash near his wrist. Happy turns around holding scissors, and Derry accidentally runs into them. Happy says, "Remember, kids, always look where you're going, or you will get a boo-boo." Derry pulls himself off the scissors and tries to eat Happy. Happy pushes him off and stabs Derry in the eye with a scalpel. Derry screams, and Happy pulls the scalpel out, ripping Derry's eyeball out in the process. Happy grabs a rusty saw and slowly hacks him in two. The rest of the episode shows Derry's body after Happy cuts it in half. I played Napoleon, the big help. It began with Happy trying to kill June. Just to clarify this, June is Danny's mother. He is struggling to kill her with the same saw he used to kill Derry Berry with, while June is trying to stab him in the face with a knife. Happy says, "Master! Master, please come help me!" And Forensic, in all of his glory, walks in slowly and says, "Yes, Happy Appy!" Happy says, "This woman is trying to kill me!" Forensic says, "Let me help!" And Forensic stabs June in the back, weakening her. The rest of the episode was basically a snuff film, recorded on a low-quality home camera. What Forensic did on camera to June was absolutely horrifying, so I'll be quick on what Forensic did to her. First, he cuts off her arms with a scimitar knife slowly and painfully. After that, he proceeds to cut off her legs with the same cleaver, and starts skinning her. After minutes of skinning, she dies, and Forensic cheerfully says, "Oh no!" He opens her guts out and starts eating them. After 20 hard-to-watch minutes, he finally stops. Thank God. After that horrifying scene, Danny from the TV movie comes in crying and sets Happy on fire. Forensic threatens to kill Danny. He runs off screen, and Forensic walks out with a scimitar knife. Finally, the Happy Appy model melts, ending the episode. Jim's reaction was, and I quote, "What the hell was that?" I had the same reaction, but in a quieter voice. We had a lot of questions about this episode. Why was Forensic in it? Did Forensic make the episode, or was it one of his friends? For that matter, did Forensic really make the episodes? I don't know, and we really didn't want to know. I played Nuksic, which was actually called Happy Goes Bonkers. It starts out with a girl forming Happy into his normal shape, but drops a garrote wire next to Happy. Happy grabs the wire and, off-screen, cuts her throat open with it. After that, he says, "Hey kids, I'm going to kill Danny." The rest of the episode is Happy Appy going around, using disguises to try to kill Danny. They include the spacesuit from Happy in Space, the costume in Happy Appy Goes to the Circus, and Octavius Orange and Derry Berry's skin. Somehow, Danny finds out that Happy is trying to kill him. After the 5th attempt, Happy, like the title says, goes bonkers. He rants to the camera at how he never has his way. After 5 minutes of ranting, he stares at the camera motionlessly, and the episode ends. I said to Jim that we would watch the next third tomorrow, and so I left. The thing is, though, as I left, I swear I saw Forensic walking up the street, but it was so dark that it could have been someone else. November 3rd, 2011. Welcome to the second part of the Happy Appy episode watching posts. In rows of blood and bones, we see Happy Appy painting a picture with red paint. The picture is of a rose in a playground. It was innocent enough, until we see Happy Appy run out of red paint. He says, "Damn it! Oh, whoops! Hey kids, let's go find some red paint and white sticks." We see Happy go out of his van and lure in 2 kids, and we see him mutilate them off-screen. It cuts to Happy painting the same picture, but we now see him with more red paint and white sticks as the stalk of the rose. After a minute, he finishes the painting. He shows the end result and says, "My masterpiece is complete. I call it the Rose of Blood and Bones. Hey kids, you too can make a painting using body parts and blood. If you make one, send it in to me, and I will give you a prize." The video ends before the address was shown. In Can of Kill, we see Happy cleaning out some large tin cans and working on mechanics in his van. After a few minutes, Happy notices the camera and says, "Hey kids, I'm working on my can contraption," and goes back to working on the can. It cuts to a tin can in the middle of the playground that has the note, "Open me," on it. Happy comes from the left and says, "Whenever someone opens the Can of Kill, a spray bottle pops out and sprays the kid with poison. This is my best invention ever, and it should get me a Nobel Prize. Well, mostly for peace." While he is talking his mouth off, we see a kid named Quincy open the can, gets hit with some sort of poisonous gas, and gets knocked out. Happy notices Quincy's body and says, "Hey, it works! You too can make a Can of Kill. All you need to do is send $5 to this address and you can wipe out anyone that hates you. And an address was listed. Before the credits played, Happy drags Quincy's body into the van. I played Jar of Hate. Happy is sitting in his van when he says, "Hello, kids! Do you want to see my jar of hate?" A kid walks up to him and says, "Happy, hate is a strong word." In response, Happy says, "Shoo, Jacob!" and pushes him away. Happy proceeds to write Jacob's name on a blank scrap of paper and places it into a jar of names. Happy says, "My jar of hate has the names of people I will kill. Let's see who's going to be the lucky ones." He empties the jar and picks out 3 names. Happy says, "The people I will kill are Jacob, Miranda, and Danny." He sneaks behind Jacob with the cleaver from Big Help, jumps behind him, and the credits roll, while you can hear Jacob being killed in the background and Forensic screaming, "Stand still!" I played Happy's Rising. It starts with Happy healing a kid using a bandage, but he says, "Hey kids, want to come have fun with me and Benny?" Everyone, including Benny, comes running into Happy Appy's van. However, to trick Happy Appy, Benny leaves quickly and silently. It shows Happy with a hand grenade, and he says, "Want to see a cool trick?" Of course, the children shout yes. Happy throws a smoke bomb, drops the grenade, and gets out of the van. We see a child scream as the van explodes into 1,000 pieces. The scene is very realistic, with body parts everywhere. Happy polishes a toe, puts it in a jar, and puts the jar in a mysterious brown bag, which has been in the background since the Blackberry episode for whatever reason. Benny runs over to Danny, who is playing with the girl. Benny says, "Happy tried to kill me!" And Danny says, "Well, at least you're safe with me here." And the episode ends. I played Happy Kills Benny. It starts out with Benny playing at the playground, but he notices Happy and his new van, which was all black this time around. He says to his parents that he wants to go home because someone is staring at him funny. His parents look at the area Happy was, but he is not there. They said, "There's no one there though," and Benny calms down. Benny sees Happy again, and Benny runs towards his parents. He says that Happy is stalking him, and the parents see Happy, but he's helping a kid. The parents say that Happy's just helping a kid. Later, Benny finds a $20 bill. He picks it up, but Happy stabs him. Happy drags the body into his van, and it cuts to the credits, with a brutal murder being played. Miranda Lives starts playing. It starts out with a piano version of the song sung by 3 of the 5 original kindergartners. They were presumably in 1st or 2nd grade when the episode premiered. The intro showed clips from Happy and the Oranges, Happy Kills Benny, Camp Ah, and 2 other episodes I hadn't seen yet. It began with Miranda's body on the beach. We see another kid poke it with a stick, but Miranda mysteriously awakens, screaming loudly. She says, "Happy Appy is going to pay for what he has done," and runs towards the playground. We see Happy Appy working on another portrait of a rose, with several more nearby. Miranda throws open the van's sliding door and screams, "Happy Appy, I am going to kill you right now!" And Happy says, "Fine, do it! Kill me! Just try! You'll just end up feeling the wrath of Napoleon." The episode ends. Miranda Dies began. Miranda gets a knife and stabs Happy's arm, pinning him to the wall. Happy screams in pain, and Miranda says, "Finally I have you in my grasp. Now I will do what I have wanted for so long." Happy smugly says, "What's that?" Miranda says, "Kill you!" Suddenly, a shadowy figure looms over Miranda. It was none other than, guess who? Forensic. He coldly says, "The only murder that will happen today is yours." Miranda screams and tries to stab Forensic, but he slams her down on the table Happy uses to cut up kids. At this point, it's quite clear that whoever worked on this episode used an obvious stunt double for Miranda, as her skin and hair were darker. Forensic brings out the scimitar knife and begins cutting her open. She screams in horror, and as soon as she screams, he's irritated. To stop her screaming, Forensic gets a random piece of wood on the floor and shoves it in her mouth, silencing her. Forensic opens her up and starts cutting organs out, eating parts of them in the process. By this point, Jim turned the TV off and decided to take a break. We really had to. A few hours later, he went back to the video, and we were greeted by more sickening scenes, which I will describe briefly. To put it in a nutshell, there's cannibalism, necrophilia, limb dismemberment, and skinning. Yeah. After that, Forensic turns to the camera, smiling, holding a chunk of Miranda's brain. The episode ends. That's it. Jim and I can't do any more episodes. From here, they're just going to get more fucking sickening. I can't do it, and yet I feel some strange wish to watch the rest. Alright, we'll watch the rest tomorrow. But after that, I'm destroying the DVD. November 4th, 2011. Welcome to the last post of the Happy Appy Season 2 series. I started Napoleon, a bigger help, which is just great. The thing we saw yesterday was a snuff film, and the first thing I see today is possibly another. It starts out with Happy saying, "Hey kids, last week was fun, killing Miranda with my best pal. Hey, come over here." And Forensic walks into view, saying, "Yes, Happy?" Happy says, "You know, we've killed women, but we haven't done any children yet." Forensic gasps like a girl and says, "Oh, you're right, Happy. Let's kill someone." Oh God, I can't take it anymore. They find a child skipping some pebbles at a lake. Happy's van comes into view, and the kid flings a pebble at it, leaving a mark on the driver's side window. Happy gets mad at the kid, so he shoves him in a burlap sack and goes into his van. Inside, Forensic murders the kid, while Happy sits in view. What happened was absolutely horrifying that I can't say what happened in detail. I'll just say that by the end, the kid only had half of his skin, his skeleton, and chunks of organs left. And like the Miranda scene, you know why I didn't post what happened. And before you say that I should know Forensic's identity by now, I should mention that during his snuff films, he wears a ski mask instead of his gas mask. In fact, it's the same ski mask Napoleon wears in the CSI-style Happy Appy intro. Meaner played. It picks up right after Happy goes bonkers, where Happy is in his van, polishing his cleaver, and cleaning the body parts of children. The corpse of the girl he sliced with the garrote wakes up, and both the girl and Happy scream. Happy injects the girl with some of the green fluids he used on the kid in Happy the Doctor, and proceeds to mutilate her off-screen. After Happy is done, he is heard chopping the girl's head off with the cleaver. Happy leaves his van with the knife and says, "That was fun. Hey, killing is a fun thing to do. You can do it at home if your mommy and daddy allow you to. If they don't, which will probably happen, do it anyways, because I, Happy Appy, say so." And the credits roll. In Happy Appy's Christmas, we see Happy Appy drive to the playground in his van, which is decked out in Christmas lights and decorations. After a minute of waiting, Happy, dressed in a Santa outfit, leaves the van through the side door and shouts, "Merry Christmas, children!" His voice grabs the attention of nearly every kid on the playground, and they rush over to him asking for presents. Happy panics for a moment, and then slowly gives every child a small present. One of the kids opens his present, and it is a juice box. Eventually, every present gets opened, and they all turn out to be juice boxes. We see the children drink them, except for Danny, who is hiding behind the monkey bars. All of a sudden, we see all of the children collapse. When I first saw this, I thought he had done a Jim Jones and put poison in the juice boxes. Happy says, "Looks like my knockout drink worked," and drags the kid into his van from Danny's point of view. We see Happy Appy drive off, and Danny runs after him. Eventually, Happy shouts, "Merry Christmas!" causing Danny to stomp on the ground and scream, "I hate you, Happy!" The episode suddenly ends after that. Happy's house played. We see a nice-looking house, with Happy Appy standing in front of it. Happy says, "Hey kids, who wants to see my house?" and walks inside. We get a tour of Happy's house. For the first half, it seemed like a normal house. Suddenly, Happy says, "Now for the main highlight of the tour. Are you ready to see my basement?" He goes outside and opens the cellar door. We see a dark room. Happy flicks on the light switch, and we see the basement, full of body parts. On the walls were dry splatters of blood and skin stretched to look like bear rugs. On the various tables were jars of body parts. There was this one table covered in a cloth with a humanoid figure under it. Happy says, "Hey kids, do you like my workshop?" and goes to the table. He says, "Well kids, here's my magnum opus under this cloth." He unravels the cloth, and what's under it is a statue of a human, made of human parts. It's unfinished, to say the least. Happy has yet to add the organs and the rest of the skin. Happy says, "Hey kids, you should make a statue like mine," and the credits roll. Jim mocked Happy's ideas, as he did when we watched Lighter. Napoleon, the biggest help, played. Great, another snuff film, I thought. And seeing the list of episodes, hopefully the last. In this episode, Happy is seen putting organs into a statue. He puts a stomach, heart, and ribs in, but finds out he has no intestines. Happy screams for Forensic. Forensic comes over, and Happy says, "Napoleon, could you please find me some intestines, preferably adult ones?" Forensic nods and goes out. We see Forensic go into Danny's house, where he and his father are crying over the death of June. Danny notices Forensic and screams. Danny's dad rushes over, and Danny runs away. Forensic slashes the dad's throat and drags him out the door. Forensic says, "You are very lucky I haven't killed you yet, Danny," and takes Danny's dad to Happy's house. Forensic cuts open Danny's dad's stomach and mutilates him to no end. Happy cheers Forensic on, while Forensic throws Happy Appy body parts like a bear throwing chunks of flesh to her cubs. After probably one of the less brutal snuff scenes, when compared to Miranda and the kid, we see Happy cheerfully place the intestines in the statue, and the episode ends. Jim couldn't take this anymore. If we see another snuff film, I am so going to destroy the disc. We played Danny's Love. We see Danny kissing the girl from a few episodes back, and Danny says, "I love you, Jenny." Happy notices Jenny from the bushes. He says, "Hey kids, who wants to see a relationship end?" Jenny goes near the road. She notices that a limo is there, which looks like the one Aphex rode and Happy meets the Rue Bears. Excited for whatever reason, she knocks on the window. A man in shades, who looks a lot like John Wilkinson, rolls down the window. She says, "Hey mister, you have a nice car." He smiles and says, "Thanks." Suddenly, Happy opens the door and grabs Jenny. We see the limo drive away. Danny sees the limo drive away with Jenny. Danny screams and cries for the last 5 minutes of the episode. Finally, Happy Fest and Happy Rots in Hell were up. In Happy Fest, we see Happy discuss plans in the camera. He says, "Hey kids, I have an idea that will change the world. I will make everyone happy," and brings out a knife. I knew what he was going to do. He was going to carve smiles into people's mouths. He got out of his van and said, "Hey kids, who wants to smile even when they're sad?" And all the children, which there were around 5, come running into Happy's van. Happy locks the doors, does a death smile, holds up a knife, and we see the outside of the van, where children are screaming and Happy Appy laughing. After that, Happy opens the van door and climbs out. In the background, you could see a kid's body, whose mouth was stretched, like Kuchisaki Anna, but in a smile. Happy says, "If you make everyone smile, the entire world will be a better place." And the credits roll. Finally, Happy Rots in Hell was up. I couldn't believe it. It was the end. Well, minus the epilogue. And we couldn't feel any better. This is actually our favorite episode. Just guess why. In Happy Rots in Hell, Happy drives to an old house where Danny is hiding. We see Danny holding a knife, while another girl is with him holding keys. Danny says, "I hope Happy doesn't come here, Abigail." We see Happy Appy knock down the door with brute force. Abby says, "I'm going to go downstairs and open the door to the basement." Danny says, "Okay, Abby, but if Happy hears or sees you, call for me." Abby walks downstairs, trying not to make a noise, gets the keys, and tries to unlock the door. The jangling of keys alerts Happy. He creepily says, "I hear you," before running over to try to kill Abby. She unlocks the door and gets in the room right before Happy could reach her. She locks the door, and Happy shouts, "Don't think you can hide forever, Abby!" before running. A revving of a chainsaw is heard, and Happy is seen trying to chainsaw down the door. Danny shouts, "Get me instead!" And Happy says, "Oh goody! You're much more important than her!" It cuts to a POV shot of Happy Appy trying to slice Danny with the chainsaw. Danny runs into the stairwell room. Abby locks the door again, and the two run down the hall as Happy tries to cut down the door. Abby finds out that there's a door to the basement, so she tries to unlock it when Happy breaks through the door. He runs toward them, but Abigail unlocks and opens the door and slams it in Happy's face. We see the basement, which is a bunch of pipes and a random chest. Danny opens the chest and finds a knife and a revolver with 6 bullets. Danny tells Abby to get out using some stairs to the side. She does, and Happy breaks through the door. He charges at Danny with the chainsaw, making Danny jump out of the way. Danny fires the revolver once, but misses hitting Happy. The chainsaw gets stuck in the wall, and Happy pulls it out, forcing him back and having him dodge 2 more bullets. Danny fires the rest of the bullets, and one hits Happy. He screams and pushes Danny down. Happy grabs his chainsaw and shouts, "Now I will have my revenge!" Danny rolls out just as Happy Appy forces the chainsaw into the ground. He pulls it out and notices that Danny is going after the chest. He charges at him, but Danny grabs the knife and throws it at Happy. Happy dodges it, and the knife hits a gas pipe. Gas sprays everywhere, and Happy rushes to clog up the pipe with a cloth. He stops the leak, but the room is covered in gas. Danny finds a box of matches and lights one. He mocks Happy, causing him to turn around. Horrified, Happy tries to cut Danny in half, but Danny gets out of the way and drops the match on gas. Happy begins to scream as the basement fills up with fire. Danny gets out of the basement in time, somehow not getting burned. Happy notices that there are some explosive chemicals to the side. He says, "Oh no! It looks like this is the end for all," before it cuts to the house, where it explodes and collapses, due to the foundations being blown by the explosive chemicals. We see a camera pan to the destroyed basement, where Happy's melted, crushed body lays. Abby is crying nearby, while Danny is trying to comfort her. Suddenly, Forensic grabs both of them and coldly says, "You have killed my creation. Now I will do the same to you too." Finally, I played the epilogue. It starts out with someone playing Gloomy Sunday by Rezo Ceres, while it shows clips from all the episodes in its intro, minus the snuff ones, albeit in black and white. It cuts to a man typing on a typewriter on his desk, with the crushed Appy at its side. The paper the man is typing on seems to be about Happy Appy. A subtitle appears that says, "Portrayed by an actor." A narrator talks over the scene. It looks like the evil rampage of Happy Appy has come to a close. Although he had died, his unfortunate impact on the world lives on. The many people who died on that show did it so the sick man who directed the show could see his true vision, a snuff TV show. Where the director is, I have no idea, but I think everybody would like to think that he died in a gruesome way. But the man turns his face to the camera. You'd think he had died. But, although Happy is long dead, the director lives on. And somewhere in the world, he is making private home movies, which continue the horrible story of Happy Appy. But you might be wondering one thing. Why did Happy Appy go so bad? We might never know until the director comes out and reveals why he made Happy kill all those people. We see the director slowly fix Happy's puppet with clay model utensils. Somewhere in the world, the director is slowly rebuilding Happy's clay model, damaged in the series finale of Happy Appy. And if the director rebuilds Happy's clay model, who knows who might be killed next? It could be a celebrity's child. It could be the president's child. It could be any child. We can only say 2 things. The director is alive, and he might be killing someone. I hope someone will kill the director, Frederick Gorgote. It cuts to Happy's rebuilt model. The director adds a knife, it cuts to black, and a scream is heard. I hope someone will kill Napoleon. And now we knew who Napoleon/Forensic is. He is the director who made this show, Frederick Gorgotte. As the disc ended, Jim said, "Well, at least that's over. And we know who Forensic is." He gave the disc to me and said, "Keep this. Even though I want this destroyed, keep it, so that you can learn more about how these episodes were made." I said okay, and I left his house to tell you about the last episodes. Oh, and I remade the episode list. I guessed on where Hospital Doctor was. It's not Happy the Doctor. Season 1. 1. Happy's vacation and hurt Happy. 2. Monkey bar mishap and Happy goes to school. 3. Happy at the Food Olympics and Nate needs help. 4. Never run with knives and Happy fixes kids. 5. Happy fixes kids part 2 and Happy fixes kids part 3. 6. The Towers. 7. Happy the Doctor. 8. Happy in space and me Miranda. 9. Happy Appy goes to the circus. 10. Happy's trick and Hospital Doctor. 11. The Happy Appy movie. Season 2. 1. Happy meets the Roo Bears and Camp Ah. 2. Happy in the Oranges and Happy's van breaks. 3. Lighter and Happy in Blackberry. 4. Napoleon the Big Help and Nuksic. 5. Rose of Blood and Bones and Can of Kill. 6. Jar of Hate and Happy's Rising. 7. Happy kills Benny and Miranda lives. 8. Miranda dies. 9. Napoleon, a bigger help and meaner. 10. Happy Appy's Christmas and Happy's house. 11. Napoleon, the biggest help and Danny's love. 12. Happy Fest and Happy rots in hell. 13. Epilogue. November 5th, 2011. You know, I don't think that revealing Forensic's identity was a good idea. When I went to sleep on the 4th, I heard someone open the back door. Since it was probably Frederick or one of his friends, I grabbed a gun and went into the kitchen. In front of me was a man in Forensic's clothes trying to burn my house down again with a lighter. However, unlike the normal Forensic, he was quite fat, giving me the idea that he was John Wilkinson in disguise. Before he could turn on the lighter, I shot him in the leg. As he stumbled to the ground, screaming in pain, he dropped the non-lit lighter on the ground. He tried to light it up again, but I stepped on his hand with my right foot. With his free hand, he tried to slash my Achilles heel with a knife, but I kicked the knife out of his hand with my left foot. I grabbed the knife and held to his throat. The man proceeded to say, "Do it, you stupid foreigner! End my life, and you'll fear Frederick so much that you'll piss your pants at the thought of him, you sissy!" I chuckled and said, "No, I'll just do this." As soon as I finished talking, I grabbed him and threw him head first into a metal radiator, knocking him out. After that, I called the police over, and they revealed who tried to burn down my house. It was none other than John Wilkinson. I seriously wonder where Frederick Gorgotte is. He can't have possibly returned to the John Wilkinson summer camp. November 6, 2011. I got it. You know the address mentioned in the Can of Kill, and possibly the Rose episodes? I think Frederick is hiding out where the address is. Now that I may have a possible lead, I'm planning on going to the address soon in the next day or so. I have to go now. I need to find some small weapons to bring, just so that I could run from Frederick and protect myself if he chases after me. November 7th, 2011. Oh shit. Today I found out that a Mr. Oscar Matthewson died today. Now normally I would post on this blog the deaths of people if they worked on Happy Appy. This man didn't. In fact, he was a big fan of this blog and would ask questions by my email. I am going to stop Frederick now. I'm horrified that Frederick is starting to kill fans of the blog. When he's done with my fans, he'll go for me next, and that isn't going to happen. November 9th, 2011. This post will be the last post to this blog. Even though many questions related to the show remain unanswered, this post will, or might, answer the ones related to Forensic and Frederick. First, I must talk about the trip to the address and what happened. Since I live in the suburbs of Aberdeen, Washington, and the address was near Alma, Colorado, I chose to take a car ride, and I took some things with me. The first thing I took was a photo of Frederick Gorgotte, for when the Forensic I find is actually him. I also took some weapons, like the knife and the pistol. After driving for almost 23 hours, I reached Alma, Colorado. The address, which I will not tell for people's safety, was over 5 miles out of Alma. I drove over to the address, and there it was. It was at a fancy abandoned house, sort of like the one in Happy Rots in Hell. In fact, it was the same house, albeit with a spray-painted sign that said, Happy Appy Funhouse! I don't know why the house was rebuilt, though. To make sure Frederick didn't trap the front door, I peeked inside. Sure enough, there was a shotgun trap using a Winchester. I tried to sneak into the window, but Frederick locked the window, so I had no choice but to break the window. I climbed in, making sure not to cut myself on any glass. After that, I disarmed the Winchester trap and took the shotgun. The house was completely abandoned, and all lights were off, save for the room where the window was. I looked for the light switch, but I was distracted by the fact that parts of the floor were wet. This meant one of two things. A water leakage had happened, or there was blood on the floor. I ran to the light switch and tried to turn the light on. However, it didn't work, so I headed for the circuit breaker. Sure enough, the circuit breaker only had one switch that was on. I turned on every switch, which made nearly every light in the house turn on. I went back to the staircase room and turned the light back on. As I guessed, there was some blood on the carpet and floor of the staircase room. I said, Hey, Forensic! I know you're here, and I turned the power on for every room in this house. Now you can't hide in the shadows. There was no response, which I knew was going to happen. I shouted, Hey! Frederick Gorgote! I know you're Forensic! And no response. Since there was no response, I explored the house a bit more. From the staircase room, the living room was to the right, while the kitchen was on the left. Since I was closer to the right than the left, I explored the living room first. It looked like it had been abandoned since the 1950s. The couch was old, brown, and had various tears in the cushions and seat. The TV was an old analog set that could only display static due to it not having a converter box. And the frame on the wall had a picture of the weird guy from The Towers. On the front wall, there was a door that was left open. I went through it, and I was in the laundry room. It looked like a regular laundry room at first, with washing machines and laundry baskets. However, some pieces of clothing in the laundry baskets were stained with blood, and over the laundry baskets was a framed photograph of Frederick as Napoleon, hanging out with Happy Appy. Other than a door to the right side that leads outside, there was nowhere to go. I went out of the laundry room and went into the kitchen. And I wish I hadn't. The kitchen was just as run down as the living room, but it was probably worse. There were countertops, dishwashers, and an oven which had been rusted up. On them, however, was rotten meat infested with maggots. The stench was unbearable, so I quickly ran out of the kitchen and into the dining room, not noticing anything else other than the rotten meat. As I entered the dining room, I noticed that there was more maggot-infested rotten meat, so I ran into the next room over, which was the hallway, and looked at what the dining room had in it. There were various chairs, all of which were pulled out. Other than that, it looked like a run-down dining room with rotting meat. The hallway was nothing special, to be honest, and led to nowhere. At the end of the hallway, near the laundry room, it looked like someone piled up a bunch of wood to block off entry to the hallway. After dashing through the dining room and kitchen, avoiding the smell and accidentally knocking a chair over, it was time to go upstairs. It was the only place I could go. As I was walking up, though, I had a feeling that someone was watching me. I turned around, but no one was there. I finally went up the stairs and tried to decide where to go. The left hallway or the right. Suddenly, I heard an all-too-familiar voice. Hey, Garrison! Guess who? I froze instantly. It was Frederick on the other side of the hallway. I said, Are you gonna run away from me this time? And he said, Now why would I do that? You know I'd never run away. And I responded with, Listen, Frederick, how do you keep coming back? I heard no response from Frederick for a while, and Frederick said, Well, I have some people who work with me. They do my dirty work and try to kill you. And snapped back with, But anyway, how did you get here? And I said, There was an address listed in 2 episodes of Season 2, and I went to whatever was there. And Frederick said, it looks like I shouldn't have put that address in. It would have made the authorities' search more fun. For me, that is. I wondered if I could talk Frederick out of killing me. I said, listen, Frederick, why do you kill people? And he cheerfully replied, well, it depends on who I killed. If it was a worker of Happy Appy, it was because I wanted Happy Appy to be more mature, but those damn employees and managers wouldn't let me. Now that they're all dead, I went after your fans, and soon I'll go to you. I was about to say that John Tresty, Jim Forrester, and Tristan Drews were still alive, but I stopped. Probably because Frederick killed them already, except for Forrester. I said, well, you don't have to kill people just because they ruined your show, or should I say, magnum opus. Frederick took out his blood-stained scimitar knife and said, do not make fun of my show! I bet you don't have the balls to make another comment. Well, do it! Sighing, I said, you should have been happy that your show aired and got decent ratings. Look at some of the shows now that only air for a few episodes before being cancelled. Frederick put away the knife and said, you're right. I should have been happy about my show. I was relieved to have finally corrected Frederick. But I still love my lifestyle. I love killing people, evading cops, and most of all, stalking you. Oh, the joys! I knew that because Frederick was mentally insane, it would be hard to stop his ways. Frederick, have you ever wanted to be successful? Frederick said, yes, at covering up Happy Appy forever. I don't need your help because I'm doing it just fine. I said, no, I mean having a successful life. He shut up before replying with, well, yeah, who wouldn't want one? I cringed before saying, well, because you've, to put it best, fucked up your chances of having a successful life. Frederick was offended. He pulled the knife out again and said in a louder tone, why the hell would you say that? Sighing again, I said, because 1, you killed a lot of people and cops are looking for you. 2, if you're caught, you're going to jail forever or put on death row. Frederick finally knew that I was trying to tell him that because of his actions, he's never going to have a successful life. He finally broke free of his other personality. He said, oh my God, I can't believe I fucked up my life. I really can't. If only it wasn't for my mental illness. Frederick sat down on the stairs and put his head in his left hand. Listen, Frederick, you don't have a choice. One day you will go to jail and you will die there. Frederick said, go. Just go. I don't care about life anymore. I'd rather kill myself than be put to the electric chair or lethal injection. I said, listen, Frederick, you could probably start a new life by changing your identity and moving to South America. But you'll get arrested one day, so it's a checkmate now. Finally, he said, listen, before I kill myself, I want to show you my true face. I said, sure. And Frederick took off his mask. I saw a skinny, pale face with various scars and hair that was ripped out at random spots. It was none other than Frederick. Frederick said, well, Garrison, it looks like it is time to go. I'm sorry for killing everyone related to Happy Appy. I'm now going to make the survivors' world a lot safer. He got his scimitar knife and jammed it into his throat, effectively killing himself. I felt depressed that I couldn't save Frederick from his mental illness. I checked his body for anything related to him. In his jacket, I found some interesting things. I found a couple of knives with dried blood on them, and a folded sheet of paper. Reading it, I found out that 9 people had worked for Frederick. After taking the paper and his gas mask, I left the house and went to my car to go back home, but leaving my shotgun, katana, and knife behind. Well, this is it. I can't believe I have to stop posting on the blog, but I must stop posting on Happy Appy because I pretty much did everything related to the show. I watched seasons 1 and 2, killed the show's insane director, and even went to the studios where it was filmed. However, that does not mean the search for answers is over. If you look hard enough, you can find the answers to the unexplained questions that relate to Happy Appy. Now, you might be wondering 2 things. What will I do, and what will I regret when I quit posting on Happy Appy? Well, I will actually open another blog, which will be a short-lived one that talks about Fright House Screamers. Remember that? Now, what will I regret when I quit posting on this blog? Absolutely nothing. I just want to never see this damn show again. I'm sorry for leaving this blog, but I must part ways for now. See you soon. Gerasim Vasily Yakovlev. P.S. I haven't explained something. How did the episodes get on Noggin? You see, not all of them did. Only a select few aired before the show was cancelled. How the others came about, I don't know. Maybe Frederick, after Happy Appy was cancelled, made new episodes, which were more low budget and gorier. PPS. Here's a question I'm going to answer. Where's the playground? You see, they did film the playground scenes at a real playground in Colorado. The only scenes they filmed in the studio were any scenes other than in the playground. They had 2 vans for Happy. The first was a miniature, and the second was an actual van. After the scene in the Happy Appy movie, they bought a new van. After the part in Happy's Rising with the grenade, a new black one was bought, and that's all I could find out. Second post. Here are the contents of the list I mentioned. There's 10 names, meaning that 4 have either been killed or arrested, 2 have been injured, and 4 have unknown fates. My followers and helpers! John Wilkinson's fate is unknown! Oh no! Blythe Underwood is arrested. Kenny Spooner was killed by Gerasim when he blew his head off! Shane Rogerson is dead. Possible cause of death by structural collapse of studio? Willie Batts is injured. Had his arm chopped off. Dudley Franklin. Nathan Jakeman. He poses me when I tricked Gerasim into thinking I'm a sane employee. He didn't come, however. Fox Garner. Milton Barrett was shot in the stomach while he was with Kenny, but escaped. Mervyn Payton. November 10th, 2011. The man who uploaded the 3 interviews closed his account on YouTube, but he has given me one last interview, which is with Ray Bolia, aka Danny. Ray Bolia? Keep it quick, please. I still have nightmares about what Frederick had done to me. How are you involved with Happy Appy? Well, it all started in a town called Alma, Colorado. I was living there peacefully until one day when I was kidnapped by Frederick. How did this happen? It was 1999, Happy Appy had just been cancelled and all employees were fired. The director, who was charged with the crime, had moved to Alma, where he lived under a new identity. How did you get kidnapped? When I was 7, I was being babysat by my mother's friend. Late in the night, the man kidnapped me without leaving a trace. Where were you taken? I was taken to a house that had the shape of a barn. It had tinted windows, 3 floors, and a cellar. It was also dark blue. There, Frederick filmed more episodes of the sick show. How did you escape Frederick? After filming Happy Rots in Hell at his house, an anonymous person tipped the police, saying that the kidnapper of me, Miranda, Abigail, and some other kids was living in the dark blue house outside of town. So the police broke into his house and saved the 4 of us. Frederick ran away, though, which I find stupid. He needs to be found and killed for what he's done to me. Sorry, I get too carried away. Last question for now. What happened to Frederick? He became a creature known as Forensic. July 15th, 2012. As soon as you've seen this post, you're now either asking this or you're about to comment with something like this. Where the hell have you been? Well, the easiest answer I can say is that I basically decided to stop caring about Happy Appy. There are 2 reasons why. The first is that some members of Frederick's group, to put it in simple terms, are still seeking revenge. The second is that there's nothing left to say about the show anymore. During the time I was gone, I went back to my family in Perm, Russia, and sometime later this month, my younger brother Vladimir is coming to visit. Just a month ago, I got a job, meaning I have even less time to post. Also, during the time that I was gone, only 1 Happy Appy employee died, which is amazing considering that, at the very least, 5 to 7 employees died a year before I began research in 2011. Said employee was Joanne Broop, who you may remember as one of the producers during the real Happy Appy movie. She was actually a post-production editor for the show, but she only worked on Happy's Vacation and Nate Needs Help. The interesting thing is how she died. Joanne wasn't killed with a knife or anything Frederick's followers would normally use. She had her head smashed in with a sledgehammer. Thankfully, though, it looks like Frederick's followers have slowed down on killing Happy Appy employees, which is very good. Also, from now on, I'm going to call the people who work with Frederick the followers for consistency reasons. July 17th, 2012. Well, I guess this is the end of this blog. There isn't much I have to say now besides Happy Appy and Frederick Gorgoat, and both of those things are dead. Unless something new happens, I'm not going to update this blog any longer. I will still keep it up so everyone can read about what happened. And that, gentle readers, is the actual end of Happy Appy, the True Vision. Oh yeah, there are spin-offs. There's the actual blog about Fright House Screamers, and there's, I think, 3 more stories, counting Fright House Screamers. Combine all the stories together, and it would be the second longest creepypasta of all time. But we are approaching 3 hours here, and we do not have that kind of time. Not even in next Freaky Fettuccine. Happy Appy was created to be the worst creepypasta of all time. And while it certainly has better grammar, and I would dare say a more interesting story than a lot of the ones I have read, I believe we should just accept it for what it is and leave it here. Over 7 years after the last blog post of Happy Appy, the True Vision, narrated by some asshole on the internet. Thank you all so much for another year of Freaky Fettuccine. Hopefully we'll see you next year, but we'll see if LOLpasta gets shut down just like Cholpasta Wiki was. Who knows? Wikia/fandom/whatever they're calling themselves now are fickle bastards. Have a pleasant night, everyone.